That fucking meta writing, man.
You're telling me. Sometimes it just gives me a fucking headache.
It just... What is more big dick than looking at your own creator and saying, hey man, could have done without that. You remember that fucking time you had me get my arm chopped off in combat, but it made me a stronger person? And you're like, yeah, and your character's like, yeah, could have done without that.
Don't
really
do
could.
that.
Stop. Do not do that.
I think the only more big dick energy would be is actually the characters leaping to life out of the page and into the creator or the author's reading, and they slap them across the face, and then they just go, no! And then they go back into the book.
God. We're already a minute in.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nonstop Debate, everybody. I'm D-DAWG, and that's the J-Man.
Yep. We're going to talk about something that we have a very good contention about, personally, but both we can agree on in a objective manner, meta writing.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Danganronpa V3's ending. We're going to talk about how we feel about the ending. We're not really going to go in depth on Samugi or any of the
characters in general.
Not any of the hard pieces.
We have a few.
Mostly just the ending itself and the idea of it and how it works and what we think of it.
I also have a theory about one of the characters that would actually severely impact the other characters and probably throw into the entire perspective of the entire ending in general. But that's what we'll say.
We've got a couple cool theories that we're going to talk about at the end, so, strap in for that.
Some of these may have been, floating around. Some of these may not. I like to think that I'm being original with this theory because I like to toot my own horn when I think about this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked into, theories for V3's ending. I mostly just hear that people either hate it or think it's fine.
It's better than one of the theories is well, no, the world's actually doomed. They're all going to die here shortly. That's one of the theories. So I'm like, that's fucking depressing.
Yeah. Well, the story's over, the writers have stopped working on it, so now they're just going to cease to exist? Is that what they're saying?
Oh no, the theory is the world is actually destroyed and they're all going to die.
Oh, so Samugi lying about it all being fake was a lie, but she wasn't lying about the world actually being destroyed.
No, the world is actually destroyed.
Oh,
they're all going to die.
That's so depressing. God damn. Fuck that, man.
But that's not one of the more popular theories. Those are the ones that are Pixar, it didn't happen, that could be basically said through all these theories. So if you don't believe us, that's fine. These are our own personal theories.
Theories that we think are fun, that we enjoy, and personally speaking, maybe I'm biased, we think they fit rather well, especially in the terms of the game being meta. So,
Right.
Yeah. So
you gotta think of it from a meta perspective.
Yeah. And meta, I know not everyone enjoys meta writing. Meta writing is, I love it. It's really good if you do it well. And I think V3's has done pretty well. So, if you're not a fan of meta writing, maybe we can sway your opinion. Because, a lot of people, the main reason that people don't like meta writing is just because they don't really understand it. It can be kind of hard to, grasp, I guess. Maybe it's not hard to grasp. I don't know. People just don't understand it a lot of the time, so they just tend to, not enjoy it.
Dylan, most of the time, from what I've experienced, is they don't like being talked down to. They don't like the story making fun of them for, liking things that they have been liking so far. And they don't like being told, the hard truth, everything's fiction, why are you caring for these characters? They don't like that kind of...
Yeah.
Right.
Well, most meta writing does not do that. So.
Right. But in the terms of V3, they kind of had to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it works.
It works.
I know a lot of people see it as, hostile, in the way that Jer's implying, but me personally, I didn't. I felt
it's
like
all-
it was more of a
it's all
fun, like, it's more of a fun, like, in a Scooby-Doo villain kind of way, where, like, they capture the monster and they pull the monster's mask off and they're like, and the real monster, and then they, like, turn towards the camera and they're like, was you the audience all along? And then everyone just kind of, like, laughs and like, ha 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 ha, alright, let's go get milkshakes. And then it's, like, cut to credits, you know, like, that's what it felt like to me. It was just kind of like a fun little poke in the ribs at the fan base. So.
Right.
Which it very well probably could have been. I would like to believe, but there's also the, you know, the writers saying like, no, fuck the fans, and then leaving.
Not to be clear, it wasn't Kodaka who said that. It was some of the minor writers who had a very big vocal voice on Twitter.
Yeah.
So for
the main writers and the head writer still enjoy the fans. That's why I think that it was mostly in fun.
Yeah.
So.
And then, those guys no longer work for Spike Chunsoft anymore anyway, so
yeah, they're gone.
So whatever they say, we can't really consider that canon anymore, so fuck those guys.
Yup. If you hear me typing, I'm sorry. My keyboard is extremely loud.
He's got that metallic keyboard. It's really...
Mechanical.
It's
not metallic.
Yeah, whatever. You understood what Yeah.
Alright, well, let's get this episode going, huh?
Right.
We're not going to be doing an Ego Theater today. We're probably not going to do Ego Theater on off-topic episodes, so if you enjoy Ego Theater, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because in my personal look, this is all an Ego Theater, but with a more serious tone.
We have a lot we need to talk about today, so trying to save time here by cutting the Ego Theater out.
Right.
Maybe we'll do it in future episodes if we don't have quite as much, but we got a lot to run through today, so let's go ahead and get started on that. We're going to start with the ending itself. And the ending pretty much begins, I would say, about halfway through the investigation in Chapter 6 when Shuichi finds the classroom that creates flashback lights.
Right.
I would say that's the first clue, and that's when I'd say it would start.
Right. The hints to the ending, because they all have contradicting memories that could be implanted to the flashback light.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go into this later, but I have a theory that also affects Samuki, but I will get to that later down on the video. But yeah, he finds the classroom that is able to implant flashback lights with different contradictory memories, and that's the very first clue.
It's like an entire menu and sub-menu of memories, and you can pick and choose what you want to be included on the flashback light.
Yeah, because in some of the menus says there could be an entire colony of survivors somewhere out in the entire universe. They can also say there's no survivors and they're the last remnants of humanity left.
Yeah.
It really could be literally anything.
It's a ton of conflicting information, and you can basically put whatever you want in there. And what that essentially tells you, the player, and Shuichi both, is that you can't even trust the memories that you've been remembering anymore, because they very well could just not be true.
Yeah, and then another thing that also points that their memories are not being true was the Hope's Peak Academy, the entire history of Hope's Peak Academy book.
Mm-hmm. Also had some inaccurate information in it.
Well, no, it had 100.
Yeah, the book was accurate. It was the other source that you were getting things from that was inaccurate.
Your own memory.
Yeah. Yup.
Right.
And then the investigation pretty much proceeds like normal. I don't think you really find anything else that really points to, the whole world being fiction, other than the flashback light.
Or if you were like me and I was watching Dylan play it through the second time, there was some clever wordplays with like Kokichi and Monokuma we're talking about.
Mm.
So, but that's going to be more to like the hint section we're going to be talking about later on, because there's a whole slew of hints about, and it was kind of discussed in the ending with the class trial where there's an audience and thing like that, but I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
It mainly deals with Kokichi and stuff like that and what he knew.
Yep. Yeah, we got some talking to do on Kokichi too. He's hoo boy. He was very involved in this game, probably a little more than people think he is.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
And we still have to do an entire video on him.
Oh, yeah.
Not barring what we're going to talk about here, because
Yep. More in depth on Kokichi. We're mostly just going to be talking about like how he impacted the story and his importance towards going toward this ending in V3.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah.
Let's just say what he did in Chapter 5 was so big balls that it literally had me and Dylan laughing when we were looking at Tsumugi and she was like super silent.
Yep.
And Dylan was like, wait a minute, is this a power play? Looks at Tsumugi, she's lost for words. Yeah, it's totally a fucking power play.
It was a power play, man. It's gotta be real embarrassing to be the mastermind and have one of these little shits fucking hijack your own killing game from you.
Right.
God damn. Alright, so, yeah, after you find the flashback lab, investigation pretty much goes like normal. And same with the trial. The trial begins and you're mostly just like in the first Danganronpa, just like in Trigger Happy Havoc, you're reviewing a previous case, and this time around it's the first case, Kaede's case. And you have this new information now, so you're re-examining Rantaro's murder, and you're finding a bunch of inconsistencies to point that Kaede maybe couldn't have killed him.
Especially when they found the iron ball with the pink strand.
Yeah, in the mastermind chamber.
Right. So that would implicate that the iron ball missed Rantaro.
Not a speck of blood on it. And the only evidence pointing that it was Kaede's was that it had a piece of fiber on it from her backpack.
Right. Wrapped in her pink vest, so.
Yup. And
cut to Fast Spooky.
Yeah, you get through the investigation like normal, shooting truth bullets here. I think there's like one lie bullet.
No, there is not a single.
Oh yeah, that's right, there was no lie bullet in the 6th case. Yeah, so just truth bullets, you're looking for contradictions, you make your way until you find the real culprit, which is Mastermind Tsumugi, hiding in literal plain sight the entire fucking game.
And when Dylan found that out, he was just sitting there, because he thought it was like, wow, this is a power play, and that he was like, well, that means Kokichi's not a mastermind. He's doing this for a show. He's doing this for a purpose. And then Dylan maxed out Tsumugi already, and he's looking through like all the classmates, and then he just like it just clicked in his head, and he's like, holy fuck, it's actually Tsumugi. Yeah. She was hiding in plain sight.
Yep. She even tells you, her like second support conversation, she tells you that she walked into a movie theater one day because she goes so unnoticed that she got to walk into a movie theater and watch a movie for free because she didn't have to pay. No one noticed her go in.
Yeah.
Kind of a superpower in its own sense, but like, fuck, man. It's so clever. They literally just mock you the whole game. If you interact with Tsumugi like I did and try and like get her support conversations, they literally mock you by just saying like, oh yeah, the person you're looking for could be hiding in plain sight, and you're just like, yeah, that's good advice, thanks, and then you walk off and Tsumugi's just like, got him.
And it's that vibe literally, like, oh, I'll see you around, Tsumugi, and like, yeah, I'll see you around, and then Tsuichi walks away, and then he turns around, so you got jokes.
So you got jokes now. But yeah, you figure out it's Tsumugi, and her being the ultimate cosplayer, she gets all her cool little cosplay items from past Danganronpa cast characters floating around her.
But first of all, there was like the big old breakdown where she pretended to be Junko Enoshima, the 53rd.
Yeah. Fucking...
Which is...
Not as bad.
And not as bad as actual Junko, because she doesn't go through all the fucking personality changes.
She doesn't go through any personality changes. She just
goes back from
she just switches. Tsumugi. Yeah, she switches from Junko back to Tsumugi, which is fine.
Right.
I was fine with that. Let me be clear. I enjoy Junko when she's not hopping personalities. When she's just Junko Enoshima, I don't mind her at all. I think she's great. Her personalities and the constant, and I mean constant, like every 3 lines of dialogue switching. That is what irritates me. I can't stand it. It's so annoying.
Right.
And that's just me. Most people, I'm sure, probably enjoy that. I don't like that.
Ironically, the cosplay community loves Junko Enoshima, so...
Well, yeah, she's probably pretty easy to cosplay. And she's got a great design. I will say that again and again. She's got a great design. There are very good things about Junko.
Yeah. I like this one because this Junko sprite in the ending is clearly like Tsumugi dressing up as Junko.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like Junko. Like if you pay attention, you're like, this doesn't look like Junko. Like, yeah, it's all dressed up as Junko, but it doesn't look like Junko.
Yeah.
Which I can think about that and like, well, that could also play into the theory that it's not actually Junko and Cospox is preventing her from doing that. But then Kaede's the only one.
Sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say that, but then I was also gonna say, but Kaede's the only person who saw Tsumugi with Cospox.
Yeah.
And she immediately died, so...
I just wanted to point out how silly that is, because she literally tells Kaede, oh, I can't cosplay as people who are real, because it gives me cospox. I can only cosplay as fictional characters. And then she cosplays the entire fucking cast at the end. I thought that was real fun. That's a fun little detail that got snuck in there.
Well, does that mean fucking?
Does that mean the
Kaede
Cospox was a lie, or does that mean that Kaede is real? Yeah, it's a fun little thing. It's just one of the many things that the writers snuck in to make you wonder if it was real or if it was a lie.
Right.
So.
But then, like, I even told Dylan when Suichi was literally just, "Who the hell are you? We have nothing to do with this." I told Dylan to buckle the fuck up, because that's when shit goes off the rails.
Yeah, that's when she stops being Tsumugi/Junko and she starts being Danganronpa the character.
Yeah.
And she cycles through every fucking character from the series at least once. Most characters get a pass or two, and she cosplays as them like 2 or 3 times, but every character in the entire series, including the V3 cast, gets at least one appearance.
No, she did not cosplay as any of the V3 cast.
Oh, did she not? I could have swore she did.
No, she did not.
She cosplayed as Kaito.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
She played a recording of Kaito.
I swear to God, she popped up as Kaito at least once.
Nope, she did not.
I don't know, man. I think I remember seeing Kaito in there.
Nope. I am 100% certain. This is literally a trivia thing, so no, she did not cosplay as any of the V3 characters.
Okay. Oh, well, I'll take your word on this, but if I find out I'm right, I'm never going to let you live it down.
Well, good thing you're not gonna get to that part, because and no, that does not mean that fucking some people are gonna be in that theory of like, but Tsumugi was probably cosplaying as Suichi, Kaede, and all of them in the fucking recording videos. No, shut your mouth. That is I do not believe that, because there's no V3 contacts in her eyes, and that's a telltale sign that she's cosplaying as someone.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool detail too, was the V3 contacts in her eyes. I thought that looked really cool.
Like, yeah. Like, that's like the telltale sign that it's Tsumugi cosplaying as someone. And in the recording videos, they did not have the V3 contacts, so those were actually them. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. I know that's a popular theory. I'm going to shut it out.
Yeah. So at that point, she starts cosplaying the whole cast, and I have some very slight mixed opinions on this, because I think Tsumugi's a great villain, but she does get hijacked a little bit by, instead of being able to be Tsumugi the mastermind, she just becomes Team Danganronpa the mastermind, and she just starts spewing that, it doesn't matter if you beat me or not, because none of this is real. This whole world is fiction, your characters are all fiction. Danganronpa is on its 53rd season. That's what the V3 in the title means, you stupid fuck. Yes, it means 53. This is Danganronpa season 53. Welcome to the newest season of the fucking murder game.
It's like Survivor, but with a twist.
Yeah, it's Total Drama Island, but with murder. But yeah,
I was gonna say Survivor, because Survivor's on its 25th season or something like that. Survivor has been going on for a long ass. So that's what I was mainly pointing to.
But yeah, it's kind of like in Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, when you catch Junko. when you finally figure out she's the mastermind and she pops up, she's like, well, it doesn't matter if you stop me or not, because the world is a fucking apocalypse outside. You guys have no world to get back to. You guys locked yourselves in here to stay safe from the outside going to hell, which it has, and now, you know, fuck you. And it, like, kind of, like, shatters their whole, like, goal and what they thought they knew. And this in V3 is like that, but magnified on a meta level, because she shakes the entire worldview from the characters and the player's perspective. Like, oh, what the fuck are we getting into all of a sudden? And it just, she just, like, goes for the gold, like, immediately. Like, the second she gets called out, she's like, oh, you think you're all big and bad, huh? You think you're all big and bad? Well, fuck you. Story's over. You're like, oh, wait, what? Whoa, shit. Did you just get meta? Oh, no.
Did I just get meta?
There's
Fucking Monokuma, bring in the audience real quick.
It feels like there's no hesitation or build up. She's just like, oh, you think you're a big man, huh? You're a big man? Well, guess what? Your favorite story sucks. Like, she just goes right for it.
You see this copy of your favorite book? I'm burning it right in front of you. What you gonna do about it, huh?
It shakes everyone up. It shakes the game up, because Shuichi falls into such a fucking depression in that moment that it makes you play as Kibo to try and get everybody back into their shit.
And then even if you start playing as Kibo, Tsumugi goes like, oh, you know the thing about you, Kibo, is you're literally just Twitch plays Danganronpa.
Yeah, she like, shatters Kibo's perspective. She's like, oh, I already shattered.
In a matter of seconds.
Yeah, it's like every foothold they get against Tsumugi, she just breaks another barrier leading towards the fourth wall. And it's like, holy shit, girl, go easy on us. Holy fuck.
And she's like, oh, I'm not done with that. Maki, you know that romance with Kaito? I wrote that shit.
Yeah.
She was going in hard.
She goes one by one on all the current survivors, and she just fucking shatters their whole worldview for every bit of their character growth throughout that game.
Right.
And it is just brutal, man. It's... God.
And then she's like, then she turns to Himiko. I'm like, yeah, you know, Angie and Tanko, they weren't actually your friends. I written them to be your friends because that's what I do. And you're
because
like,
no one could actually be your friend.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck. She's
and then
real
we're like,
savage.
no, yeah. And then we're like, no, we're actually real people. Oh, you think you're real people, huh? And plays the recording of fucking Suichi's
his audition tape to get picked for Danganronpa. Yeah.
Yeah.
She starts playing a bunch of audition tapes. Like, I think she plays Kokichi's. She plays fucking...
No, Kokichi's was cut.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. She plays... I
know she played Kaede's.
Suichi's, Kaito's, and Kaede's.
Yeah. And Kaede's was real fucked up, because Kaede was, you know, Kaede at the beginning. She was full of hope.
Faith in humanity. I'm going to totally murder everyone in the killing game.
Kaede's audition tape, she was like, oh yeah, everyone, the whole world sucks, life is meaningless, and I'm just here to kill people and take the gold. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? She shatters your worldview, she shatters your character growth, everything that they all thought they knew, and then she shatters the most precious thing, their perception of Kaede, which was like the driving point that started this whole fucking journey, and is the main point. I want to make this very clear. The main starting point of Shuichi's character growth.
And she didn't stop there. She was like, oh yeah, you like Kaede, right? Well, guess what? I'm going to go even higher. You know Kaito?
Yeah. Yeah, she shatters everything that everyone thought they knew at that point about Danganronpa V3. She just crumples the whole damn thing up. She rips the curtain down and says, look at it. This is what you've been doing. This is what you've been playing.
Right.
And it's rough.
And some people are going to be saying, like, well, you keep pointing out to like all the things before, and there's like, well, she said she was the copycat killer, so she was obviously doing everything like in the first game.
Yeah.
Like, but except no, she didn't do it. If she wanted to be the copycat killer, she would have done things completely differently. She would not be directly involved with everything. Like, she wouldn't put herself at risk, especially since we have like characters who are off script.
Because
theory.
one of the big points of contention with that is that, as you probably know if you're listening to this podcast, Junko was the mastermind in the first Danganronpa, and she had her sister Swish Wish, because I don't think her and Mukuro are actually related. They just think of themselves as sisters because they're
twins.
Are they twins? Are they actually related?
Yeah, it's because of Mukuro's backstory. She went off to join the army and went underneath a different name. And
right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
They're identical
so
twins.
So Mukuro took place in the Killing Game. Junko, the real Junko Enoshima, you literally do not meet her face to face until the end when you call her out as the true mastermind. Because the Junko that you start the game with is really Mukuro dressing up as her sister. And she dies, I think, before the first trial, doesn't she?
Yeah, because Sayaka dies, and then Mukuro comes up and wants to, add a...
You guys meet in the gym after Sayaka dies so that Monokuma can explain the rules of the investigation in the class trials to you. And as soon as he mentions that if you guys guess wrong, you all die and the killer walks free, Junko, Swish Wish, steps up and is like, yo, what the fuck? No, that's fucked. I'm not gonna be part of your stupid killing game, you dumb bitch. Get out of here. And then the second she actually touches Monokuma, she gets fucking murdered by spikes coming out of somewhere. I don't know. It's never really explained where they came from. They just came and they stabbed her to death.
Dylan, they're the plot spears. They're summoned when needed.
Yeah.
See, we're talking Danganronpa meta right now. We can make jokes like that.
Yeah. She gets fucking stabbed to death, and she's clearly very surprised, and she does say a couple lines of dialogue that hint that, she was in cahoots with the true mastermind, because she's like, no, this wasn't, and then she dies.
No, she said this wasn't supposed to, and then she dies.
Yeah. And, fuck.
So, Samuki never did that because Junko,
that works. They know what we mean.
Yeah. Junko was always hiding. She was always
in the safety of the mastermind chamber and the upper floors that were not yet available to the Killing Game contestants. She was never a part of the Killing Game. Samugi took the risk because she was part of the Killing Game. She could have been murdered at any point leading up to the end.
Yeah, and that also, this is part of the hints, but it also explains why Samugi didn't really want to go into the Neo World program.
Yup, because she doesn't have any control in there.
Yeah, because that also points to my off-script theory that certain characters are not supposed to be alive in this situation, so that they're going
off-script theory.
Yeah.
The Rantaro theory was yours.
Oh yeah, the Rantaro. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah.
I have theories on the mind, so...
Yeah, we did a lot of talking before we recorded this, and we came up with a lot of stuff. We're actually recording this before we record the Leon episode, funny enough. You would have already heard the Leon episode by the time this comes out, but this is being recorded before the Leon episode because we just couldn't fucking wait to talk about this shit, I guess.
Right. And I had a convenient day off, so yay!
Yup. So, yeah, Samuki just shatters everything and everyone. She takes a giant fucking mallet to the fourth wall and just destroys everything. And it really fucking shakes everyone up. Everyone falls into the usual despair state where they've pretty much given up all hope at that moment. And the mastermind is like, ha ha. Yeah, except for Kibo, because his inner voice, Swish Swish, is telling him to
vote for hope.
Vote for hope. Yeah. And he keeps fighting for it, and it makes you stop playing as Shuichi and start playing as Kibo, and you start firing hope bullets, once again, your hope bullets, into your fellow classmates to try and get them to, cheer the fuck up.
No, you gotta shoot the hope bullets against Samugi and Monokuma's despair.
Right.
First. And then that's when Shuichi comes in, during the middle of that.
It's all a debate of, vote for hope. Or let despair consume you. And the debate goes on for a little while, and like I said, you play as Kibo, and you try and get everyone to cheer the fuck up. It makes you play as Maki for a hot minute to try and cheer the fuck up. I don't think it makes you play as Himiko once. Does it?
It does.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And then it makes you play as Himiko to do it.
You're jumping away ahead real quick.
Am I?
You're jumping away. You are jumping ahead. That's near the end.
I thought that happened. I thought that happened before Shuichi realized what was going on.
No, that's right after he realizes, because he has to tell everyone, we can't vote at all. We can't vote at all.
Well, no, because he's it makes you play as the other characters to like try and like get back into the hope side. Shuichi's the one that does the no, that's wrong, and starts saying like no because that's what she wants, right?
Dylan, no, that's not what happens.
Okay.
The bullet you have, it was not the hope bullet one. It was the use your lives bullet to end the killing game. You were playing as you had to agree with Shuichi. Remember? I know it was 5 o'clock in the morning, but
maybe that's why I'm having a hard time remembering what order of events went.
Yeah.
Maybe I should let you explain the rest of this.
Yeah. Alright, because I actually rewatched this ending 3 times, so I know exactly what's going on. Okay. That's why I'm saying here. That's why I'm saying you're going, no, that's wrong! And all over
Jer's hitting me with the cut-in. No, that's wrong!
But no. So after they had a mass panic debate where it was just basically Tsumugi yelling despair with Monokuma and you're shooting hope forward. The whole thing, point of contention was that if you vote for hope, 2 of you have to be sacrificed in order for the other 2 to leave. Yeah. But Tsumugi would also be killed. Kibo was willing to sacrifice himself, and then Maki was going to sacrifice herself. But if you vote for despair, only Kibo would be destroyed, and they would live the rest of their lives forever in this world. Because according to Tsumugi, you have no place to go back to. You have no home. You erased all your memories. You implanted with new ones. No one knows who you are, and no one cares for you in the outside world. And that's when, like, Kibo was like, no, we got to keep voting for hope. Because if we vote for hope, and then it immediately cuts out, and then Shuichi's like, what do you mean vote for hope? And then you're just like, what? And then Shuichi comes in and just says, I reject that hope.
Yep.
And then you had a rebuttal showdown with him. And it's basically Shuichi pouring his heart out about basically what the scenario is. Like, he's basically laying out the plans for the entire what's going on right here. Because the reason why the thing's going up 53 times is because everyone craves that hope. The audience craves the hope. They want to see these people survive. Yeah. So if they survive, they could be seen through the next season.
He realizes that because Tsumugi did the whole despair angle to try and get you to... It was kind of like a fake out. Because she's like, oh, if I get them into this despair-filled state, then one of them is going to stand up and try and fight for hope. And that's what we need them to do so that the show can continue. But Shuichi is smart enough to realize that, and he says, no, hope is not the answer either, because that's what she wants.
Right. And you can't. And then Kibo's like, so what do you want? You want to vote for despair? And he's like, no, I refuse to vote. And that's when, like, Tsumugi was like caught off guard, and I'm like, wait, you're just going to throw your lives away? And that's when she stopped changing as much, because it's literally a defying fate off the script moment. Yeah. That's when Shuichi was going in, like, so don't you see, guys?
This is when Shuichi shines the brightest.
Right. He's gonna sit there and he was like, I can't if this thing has been going on for 53 times, I can't imagine the pain, I can't imagine the suffering of watching every one of these guys as friends. And all the audience members are always wanting to see that hope, and they always want to see a happy ending for everyone. But I don't want to live in that world. And he goes full nihilistic, I'm going to stop this shit mode.
Yep.
And he basically was just there, I'm like, if I have to throw away my life to mean that none of this shit was going to happen to anyone else ever again, then I'll gladly do it. I'll gladly do it 1,000 times over if we all just agree. And then that's when he convinces Maki, and he also convinces Himiko to switch over. And then, like, Tsumugi, like, turns to, like, what does your inner voice say, Kibo? They're telling you not to vote for hope, right? I'm like, well, of course they're telling me to vote for hope, but I decided not to listen to that voice anymore. So I decided to, and then Kibo fucking dies.
Yeah. Tsumugi snaps her fingers because she's the god of this world, and she erases his personality completely.
Not before Not before Kibo gives like one last dying message.
Yep.
He's just like, I can't control it, but I can let you talk to them. And then they play, and then Shuichi basically just talks down the world, and he's just in the most bullshit argument armament ever. You know what I'm talking about. Hope! Despair! Hope!
God.
Despair!
I don't think it's ever really going to come up, but let me just mention that the rhythm game, Argument Armament, is what it's called, right?
Right.
I just know it as the rhythm game. The rhythm game in V3 is my least favorite one. I think the rhythm game in Danganronpa 2 was the best, because it's literally just you keeping rhythm. It's hard to keep the rhythm when I'm trying to pay attention to what order buttons need to be pressed and what buttons need to be pressed, and you've got the ones that you just press and the ones that you just hold. It's really off-putting, whereas 2 and 1 is just literally just tapping a button to a rhythm and a beat. It's much easier. It's still challenging, but not in a convoluted way like I think V3's is. I don't think we're ever going to bring up the actual like mini games ever, because we only really talk about the story and the characters, so I just want to throw that out there right now. I fucking hate Argument Armament.
Hangman's Gambit was best in V3.
Oh yes, definitely. Best version, by far.
Right. Yeah. Oh, the other two versions sucked ass.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was alright.
It's fine. It's not awful. It could have been better.
The second one fucking blows, man.
Fuck the second one, dude. The second one sucks. God. I feel bad for people going through Danganronpa 2 for the first time and not knowing what they're getting into. Oh, God.
Yeah, they even throw like the new and improved Hangman's Gambit. I'm like, oh yeah, how's it new and improved? Oh my god, you made it fucking worse.
It's worse in like every way. Yeah, by new and improved, we mean we took everything good about it out and gave you what was left over. Fucking A.
And after that argument armament where you send Kibo's body flying into the fucking ether,
into the void with you, demon.
With like probably the best screenshot of Shuichi you will ever see, with the little N in the background. Together, we're gonna end Danganronpa! And then...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, after that, they all do voting time, right? And let me tell you what, during this entire, like, lead build-up, you're going through all the minigames but not playing, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to start voting time.
You're not going to be entertaining for the people at home anymore. Right. Shuichi's sick of being the dancing monkey in the killing game, so they throw like 3 minigames at you, and your whole point is to literally just not play them and let the timer run out.
They throw you out non-stop debate, psychic taxi, they don't do Mind. They do a Hangman's Gambit, and they do a multiple choice.
Yep.
And then that's...
And like even they're all like very easy and like streamlined for you to be able to clear without hardly any effort. Yeah, they all say hope. The psych taxi has you on like a very narrow stretch of road where you don't even have to turn. You literally just have to hold forward. You'll get all the boxes in like 5 seconds. It's... They're all just very streamlined for you to be able to beat them within like a second. And the point is to just let the 30-second timer run out like 4 times in a row.
Yeah. I'm like, I get the joke, I get what you're going through, but it's kind of a time killer. But
it's fun. It's not so much about like making you sit through the minigames as much as it is like Shuichi sending that message.
Right.
So
it would suck if they actually had the actual 10-minute timers.
Yeah. They literally, for all those minigames that you're intended to just not play, they give you like a 30-second on the clock, and that's it.
Right.
Normally you have like 5 or 10 minutes.
Right.
So.
But then, yeah. And then they do voting time, and then Tsumugi's one big mistake in this entire thing is that she didn't vote either.
Yep.
Because she had so much faith in the world. This is why when I say when I had to compare like the deaths of the masterminds compared to Junko and Tsumugi's makes sense because she placed all of her fucking bets and money on the world.
She took a gamble and it didn't pay off. She was convinced without any doubt in the back of her mind that the world was going to vote either way. And
fiction can't change the real world. Coughs in Star Wars.
Yeah. Shuichi's speech got through to the outside world, and the world didn't vote either. They voted not for hope and not for despair. They voted for Shuichi. So there were no votes, and the game ended.
Yeah,
just like that.
And everyone like, it's like, I like to consider it like the ending of the Truman Show, where Jim Carrey was at the literal end of the world. He's going into the door that leads to the outside world, and he looks back and he's like, "Well, say something, damn it! You're on live TV." He turns to the camera, and he like smiles, and he's like, "If I don't see you, if I don't see you, have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night." And then he laughs, and then he walks out the door, and everyone who's been watching the Truman Show at that time, they're like, "Yeah!" Like, all cheering and shit like that. Yeah. And then they're literally, I'm like, oh, that's the end of the Truman Show, huh? Yeah. Something else on TV? And that's why I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's probably the world right now. They probably saw this, and they realized Shuichi won. They all cheered and shit like that, and then they just changed the channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities between this and the Truman Show, though.
Yeah.
It's literally the exact same concept.
Right.
Meta writing done right, man. You get good shit when you do meta writing done right.
Right. And then Tsumugi like throws out this one line where she was just there and like, well, that means what is going to happen now? And she's like, well, I don't know, but I don't want to live in a world without Danganronpa, so I guess I'm just going to have to end it all. End the school and everyone here. Yeah. And then she's like, but it sucks though. I did at least get to try to do the copyright cat killer. Everyone was like, wait, what? And then the execution starts. Yep. No elaboration whatsoever.
Kibo miraculously gets his fucking personality back. Somehow. I don't remember if there was a reason or if he just got it back and he was like, haha, I'm back.
I'm gonna blow up this bomb inside my chest now. Goodbye!
Let me be clear, he was never dead. Like, dead. He was just standing in the trial room not saying anything because all his personality was wiped off of his fucking memory drive. So he was just standing there after Tsumugi killed him and just not saying anything. And then at this moment, yeah, he just gets his personality back and he's like, huzzah, comrades, I have returned.
Oh, wait, I'm destroying everything right now.
Yeah.
Well, looks like
He arms back up, and he returns to what he was doing during your investigation, where he just starts fucking pelting the school and everything around it in the vicinity with missiles and laser beams and bombs. And then he casts one final glance at some rubble from where the trial room was, and he kind of nods, because, spoilers, Shuichi, Himiko, and Maki are not dead. And he knows they're not dead because he realizes that's his little nod at the rubble. He knows, he's like, oh, they made it. And then he fucking uses himself to blow a hole in the dome where they are being trapped and basically procures an exit from the academy for the survivors.
Right.
And then,
it's like soccer all over again.
Yeah. And then it cuts to credits. And then after the credits, you get an after-credits scene of Shuichi, Maki, and Himiko climbing out of the rubble and talking about what they're going to do now and how they're going to respond to what they find on the other side.
Yeah, and they zooms out and you saw a portal to Team Danganronpa.
Yep.
Where literally just a void where it just has the Team Danganronpa logo everywhere. But before that, Shuichi says something. Maybe everything that Tsumugi says a lie. And if that's the case, then that makes sense. When it because he says that and it's highlighted. When he says that makes sense. He's talking about go back and replay the prologue.
Yep.
Because a lot of things Tsumugi said during the meta writing, like, well, Rantaro, because this came up in the case, Rantaro was the survivor of the previous killing game.
Danganronpa
if they voted
52.
for Hope, yeah,
he was the
Danganronpa
winner.
52. Yeah, he was one of a survivor, but we don't know if he was the only survivor.
Yeah, it's unclear if he was a Blackened who got away with his murder or if he was one of the final two survivors, but it is definitely confirmed that he was a winner/survivor of Danganronpa 52. And such, he got to start with something called a survivor perk, which is an extra tablet next to his own student handbook that had like a map of the entire academy, which included the secret room in the library, which was the mastermind lair,
But not the secret passageway that leads to that room.
Yeah, he didn't know how to open that. He found that on his own, but he knew that there was a secret room there, at the very least.
I was talking about the secret pathway that's leading to the girls' bathroom all the way down to the...
yeah. No, he didn't know that was there. That wasn't on his map.
That was a special mastermind-only thing.
Yeah. And did we figure out for sure if his video to himself was also on his tablet? Because I'm pretty sure it was.
It was not. It was on a computer in a USB drive in his room.
Okay. It seems rather pointless.
Never got access.
It seems really pointless to record a message like that for yourself, and then you're not even going to see it until the killing game's almost done. Like, what's the point?
The people being dicks to him.
Oh, they let him record the message to himself, and then they didn't even give it to him after they wiped his memory.
Yeah.
That's real dumb.
But then it also has some very minor inconsistencies. Because if you look at Suichi's recording, like the recording tape, his name is censored, right?
Yeah. The audition tapes for Kaede, Kaito, and Shuichi, their names are censored. But
right.
It's like, why would you censor their names? Because in the prologue, they already know their names as Shuichi, Kaito, and Kaede before they've had their memories wiped.
Yeah. And because literally Kaede like introduces herself to Suichi. Suichi falls out of the locker and like, "Oh, I'm Kaede. Nice to meet you. What's your name?" And he's like, "Oh, me? My name is Suichi Sahara." And you're like, big thunk time. They already knew their names. And then you keep going around, and another big red flag that's really weird is that all these characters who signed up for this are big fans of Danganronpa the series.
That's why they're auditioning, is because they love the show. They watch it from home, and they're like, oh, it's like when you watch Wipeout, or a show like that, where people are doing game shows, or like physical, like American Ninja Warrior Wipeout, shows like that. Yeah. You watch them from home, and you're like, oh, I bet I could do that, no problem, you know?
Yeah, and you go up and sign on and hope to get picked.
Yeah, and you know, that's literally what these kids were doing, only, you know, it's fucking murder. For these very fucking fucked up people, if you really think about it. But, yeah, they are going and signing up because they're like, oh, I watch this show all the time. I think I can win, you know?
But then, if they're all fans, how come none of them recognized Rantaro immediately, who was the previous game's survivor?
Yeah, if he was the winner / survivor of the previous season, wouldn't these fans have recognized him and been, like, fans of him? Like, even if they weren't fans of him, maybe they didn't like him for whatever reason, but they still would have known who he was, right?
Right.
There's no indication that they know him. I'm pretty sure they don't recognize anyone there. They don't even mention recognizing anyone. I think they just...
Yeah. Rantaro specifically says himself that no one knows who we are in here. We're all strangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really weird, because Rantaro, by technicality of the meta writing, it shouldn't be a stranger. He's not. The prologue is an exact contradiction. Oh, and Rantaro knows his name right away, too.
Yeah. He also knows his name is Rantaro Mami. He also knows that they're in a killing game, because he's the one that's like, no, don't worry, you're not going to recognize anyone here. I know what's going on. And then when Monokuma pops out, he's like, yeah, get to the details.
Monokuma does not show up in the prologue.
Oh, yeah, right. It's the Monokubs, yeah. But yeah, like, Rantaro immediately recognizes it as a killing game, and that's interesting enough on its own.
Right.
So...
And he's like, interesting. If you're here, then who's actually the mastermind pulling the strings the entire time? But then he gets his memory wiped, and then he gets supplanted with information that he had no privy knowledge to.
Yep.
So that calls everything into question, because everyone's like memories get rewritten at that point in time because of the flashback line. They get implanted new memories. So, this is where a big theory of mine comes to my play with Samugi, but we'll talk to that about a little bit later. But that's basically the ending of V3.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really have a whole lot of problems with it. I think it's pretty solid as far as, like, writing meta stuff goes. Yeah. it hits a lot of high notes. It does really good. One of the best things that you can do with meta writing, and maybe I'm just being biased here because I enjoy seeing this in writing, is...
You are a slut for meta
I
writing.
am a slut for meta writing when it's done like this. I love it when you take the main character and you have them realize that they are in your story, and they give you the middle finger and say, fuck you. I love the concept of the hero being met with a fate that ends in 2 possible decisions, and them saying, fuck you, I'm gonna make a third decision that is my own choice. And they, like, derail your entire story. It's so cool. I love it so much. It's been in a bit of, like, stuff that I've read growing up. I think it's a great concept. And they did it in Danganronpa V3, and I think they did it very well. They pulled it off excellently.
Yeah, Dylan's a big Cirque du Freak fan, so I'll refer to his judgment on that.
Yeah, if there's any Cirque du Freak fans out there, I know a lot of people do not like the ending for Cirque du Freak either, and it is very similar to this. Trust me, maybe it's just an acquired taste, I guess. I think it's great. I think it's really smart.
Yeah. Just because I'm one of those people, like, because I don't like this ending on a personal level does not mean I cannot appreciate the writing quality that went into it.
Yeah.
Kodaka and the writing team poured their heart out to make this ending work. And this is obviously when you go through and you're looking through all the hints and stuff like that. But me, on a personal level, I am not a big fan of meta writing. I always don't like the reflection feeling of, like, the writers are making, like, pulling up a reflection to the audience and saying, it's like, it's all a lie, you've been fooled, you've been tricked.
You've been had by one of the classic blunders.
You fell for one of the classic blunders. First is never fall in love with any characters in Danganronpa because they might die. And the second is don't take things in fiction for granted when the lead writer's on some fucking crack!
Yeah, it's pretty fine. I think it's pretty great. Obviously, if you're not a fan of meta writing, that's fine.
It's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it's probably not what you were expecting. But then again, this is Danganronpa, and they always try and go above and beyond compared to the previous installment.
You thought the second game's fourth wall breaking was bad.
The second game is, like, very world shaking, but only really for the characters, because for you it's like, oh, they're in a virtual world this whole time. That's cool. This game, it, like, makes you the player. It makes you a part of that fourth wall shatter, and you're just as shaken as the characters are, and that's why it's great.
Right.
It really... I know I talked a lot about Makoto being that, like, vessel for the player to experience things alongside the rest of the cast with.
Kibo is literally...
Kibo, Shuichi, like, the writing in general of the ending and how they pulled it off is very reminiscent of that, because they do a very good job of not only shaking the character's worldview, but yours too. Because it's one thing, it's like when people play Doki Doki Literature Club for the first time, and Monica did that whole thing where she'd, like, read your computer files and find out what your real name was, and then she'd be like, oh, I know you named yourself Justin in the game, but your name is really David, isn't it? And you're just like, oh, and then people, like, shut their computers off because they were pissing their pants in fear, you know? It's like that. It's when the game points you, not you, the character, you, the player, behind the computer screen. When the game points you out and says, hey, yeah, I see you over there. That's when it gets real fun. Not everyone likes it, and that's fine. But I am of the opinion that if you do it correctly, and you do it well, it can be done very well.
And that's just not to say, because everyone's going to say Deadpool, 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 Deadpool. I'm like, yeah, Deadpool's a different case, though. He's a comedy character.
Yeah.
He's allowed to make
Meta for the sake of humor is fine. It's common. Yeah. Most people enjoy it, especially because Deadpool made it more popular. My Little Pony is pretty prevalent with Pinkie Pie. I know that because Pinkie Pie is the only character in that show that does meta, like, fourth wall breaking jokes, but it's, again, all for the sake of humor. So...
Right. Sonic Boom itself is fucking hilarious for it, too.
That's, like, the perfect blend of, like, self-aware and fourth wall breaking type humor.
Right.
Like, my wife showed me a fucking clip from Sonic Boom today of the Sonic Boom crew trying to put a piece of IKEA furniture together, and it was just... it was really funny because it was very like real. Like Amy's like, there's no instructions, it's all pictures, and then Tails is trying to put something together, and he's like, hey, do you have any of the T pieces? And Sonic is like, what do the T pieces look like? And Tails is like, oh, they're kind of long like this. And Sonic is like, I swear to God, the T pieces are these short ones. If you've been using all those as T pieces this whole time, I swear to God, Tails. And it just like ends with them getting all fucking pissed. And then fucking Knuckles gets one of the pieces broke to his hands, and he tries to take it off, and he breaks it, and Sonic's like, great, well now we gotta take the whole fucking thing back and get a new one. And then they try to put it back in the box, but it won't fit, so they're just like, God damn it, we'll just put it together with what we have. It ends up looking like shit, and it's just like, dude, this is so true. It's fucking great. And you're watching this in a fucking Sonic cartoon.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny when if you're one of those people who actually built furniture before, like me and Dylan have.
Yeah.
It's funny because that shit is true.
That's what it's
you
like,
have
man.
problems like that.
It is so much like that. It's so good. Oh god.
Yeah. But then, like, meta writing in like a serious writing concept, it is very difficult to pull off, and you can fuck it up.
It's very
so
easy
easily
to just not pull it off.
Right.
That's why I appreciate meta writing when it's done well, is because I can understand how difficult it is to do. Like,
right.
One of the big jokes in Danganronpa V3, maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't, you probably did. The reason it's called Danganronpa V3, and the reason they went with the idea that this is the 53rd season of Danganronpa, is because the writers, in reality, went through 53 iterations of the fucking story before they settled on the one that we know and have played. And
right. But they also lied at Twitter. They were like, what does the V in V3 stands for? Victory.
Yeah.
Well, fucking yeah, we're not gonna take your word for granted anymore.
All right, buddy. I think it's fun. I think V3 is some good meta writing. I think it was done very well. And I enjoyed it a lot. I like the ending.
The only thing I have to downside with it kind of hijacks all of V3.
Yeah, it kind of hijacks V3. There, like we went over, there's plenty of clues to hint at it, and that's why I'm not that mad at it, is because you have been leading up to it, you just didn't realize. But it's still, because the clues that they leave you, you don't know what to make any sense of, and then when it does finally hit you, like we said with Tsumugi, she just kind of hits you with it all at once. And you're, like, still reeling from the first thing she said when she's hitting you with the fourth thing. And then she keeps on all the way up until the eighth thing. And then she keeps going.
She does not stop.
Yeah, she hits you with everything at once. And I think that's why it was a little much for a lot of people, was because it's just so much fourth wall meta break in, like, one short stretch of, like, 10 minutes of dialogue. She just shatters everything in a short time.
They even give you a break when they were showing, like, the intro again with new context now.
Yep.
During all that, and you're still reeling.
I forgot about that. Tsumugi literally, after she tells you all this, like, world-shaking, shattering news that the world you're playing is fiction, she's like, yeah, didn't you realize when you saw the intro? And then she makes you watch the intro all over again, and you're just like, oh, fuck. And you're, like, seeing all these details you never noticed before. One thing that I know is not in the actual intro that Tsumugi shows you in the intro at the end is when
Danganronpa 4 through 10.
Yeah, it shows you Danganronpa 4 through 52 in, like, one short, like, clip show before it ends on Danganronpa V3, and you're like, fuck. I've been had. I think the only other downside to the ending that we can really think of is that, just like the game itself, it really hijacks Tsumugi as a mastermind, because her reveal is top notch. The fact that she was there with you in the game the entire time, and you didn't even notice that it was her until near the end, I think it's just fucking phenomenal. And her...
Right.
It's weird because, like, I hated Junko's alternate personalities, but I love Tsumugi switching to different characters from throughout the series, because I really enjoyed that. Because it's like a greatest hits. It's like a Danganronpa victory lap, almost. You know? Right. And unlike Junko, who you just meet, and then she's just, like, switching personalities, and you're like, why are you like this?
We know Tsumugi has a set personality.
Yeah.
She's just doing the all the character swapping basically for fan service at that point in time. because she's a cosplayer. That's what she's doing it for. Fan service.
Yeah. If you played V3, then you got to play the first 2 games. And you got to meet these characters, and you got to get attached, maybe some more than others.
I feel so bad if anyone's like, I'm going to go play V3 first, and they get to that ending, and they're fucking lost.
Who are you people? Just the picture of fucking Patrick with all the people under his rock, but they're all Danganronpa characters from throughout the first 2 games. Oh, God. But yeah, it's like, when Junko shows up at the end of Trigger Happy Havoc, you're just like, oh, so I never actually met the real Junko until now, so you're Junko, and then she's like a different character, like every 2 seconds, but still Junko. And you're like, what? Why are you smug now? Okay, now you're swearing a lot. Now you're just being an ooh-woo, and that fucking nope, don't like that. Okay, now you're Junko again. Now you've got a crown on your head and talking with some dumb posh accent. Why are you like this, Junko?
Why do you have mushrooms on your head and why you're depressed right now?
Yeah, and then with Tsumugi, she's just cycling through characters that you've met previously, characters that you know that are all different. Yeah, their personalities, their voice actors. Pretty much all the original voice actors came back, except, for Hajime. Hajime was someone else, but even he still sounds pretty decent.
Right.
Like, it's noticeably not Hajime, but it still sounds fine.
Literally, Dylan was just like, because Hajime is the first one you see, because Tsumugi is like, I am you, and you're like, and you're not Hajime.
Yeah.
You are not Johnny Yongbosh, I can tell.
But yeah, she cycles through all the characters, and they all have these contacts in that put a V and a 3 in each of their eyes, respectively. And it just looks great.
Right. And then and then she was like trying to plead to them with like this was hilarious when she was pleading to everyone to vote for because they were all friends and stuff like that. She was cycling through the more popular waifus and then Chihiro.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my, it's tugging at the heartstrings. I don't know why you put Chihiro in there, because then my friend Alice would love that shit. Then you were like, oh no, you're tugging at my heartstrings, because he loves traps, and I'm like,
Yeah. So, but yeah, Tsumugi's got a lot of good things about her that I really enjoyed as a mastermind. There's just some wasted potential in the fact that, like, pretty much as soon as she shows up, like as soon as she shows the true Tsumugi, the mastermind Tsumugi, that's when she starts doing the I'm gonna shatter all these fourth walls, and you don't really get to see much of like Tsumugi herself.
Tsumugi, yeah, because it's obvious who you're talking to at this point. It's no longer Tsumugi; it's the writers.
It's Team Danganronpa.
Yeah,
because Team Danganronpa, if we haven't really mentioned it yet, Team Danganronpa in V3 is the fictional stand-in for the writers. They're not actually called Team Danganronpa. That's what they call themselves for V3 specifically, and it was kind of a clever little like hiding in plain sight thing, just like Tsumugi was.
Yeah. Shit. If you're going through all of Danganronpa, even the title screens sometimes gives it away. The second game, you saw them all in a pixel sprite, and it wasn't a virtual. It looks like they were in a game. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert! And Danganronpa 2, it was a game, virtual reality. V3 opening, it's a literal render of the Spike Chunsook studio in Japan, stylized with the Team Danganronpa logo all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Like, if you're clever, you could, like, extremely, like, 5D chess maneuver levels of clever. You could probably see it right away. Because, I didn't see it right away. It kind of took me by storm. And I was kind of like, well, maybe the memories are a lie. I'm like, what's the deal with that? Because when I played through it, I got to the point where I wasn't, like, thinking it was going to break down into the meta. I was just thinking, like, well, the world's alive, of course, duh. It's just all of it's just a big lie, because I already figured out the thing was like, oh, this is the truth and lie themes of the game, because the second game was past and future, first one was hope and despair, third one was truth and lies. So I was like, oh, so everything is just a big lie in the outside world. When the meta shit started happening, I was just like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, it really makes you start questioning what was real and what wasn't.
Right.
And that's just another layer onto the meta writing and why it's good, is because that's what you want to do. Like I was saying earlier, if you confirm it for people, I don't remember if I said this on the recording or if it was part of the discussion
You
before.
said it was part of the discussion before.
Okay, yeah. They leave just enough in the ending for you to question what was true and what wasn't. And that's part of what makes it good, because if they confirm it for you, like if they go that minute further after Shuichi and the others climb out of the rubble, where they go through that hole in the wall, and it's just a black empty void, and they're like, huh, wow, I guess our world really is false, and there's nothing beyond this dome of existence. Huh, strange. If they do that, it ruins the entire story. It would ruin the meta writing, it would ruin all of V3, everything was just right in the shitter. Just like that. Yeah. That one moment ruins all of it.
It goes from a 9 out of 10 story to a 2 out of 10 story.
Not even a 2 out of 10. Because it soils everything.
Right.
Like, you think you disagree with the ending now if you hate the whole meta writing aspect. Think about how much worse it could have been if they just outright confirmed it for you. You would definitely hate it. Everyone would hate it. No one would like that.
Yeah, no one would like that, and then it ruins Danganronpa 1 and 2 forever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's good the way it is because they leave it up for you to decide what was real. There's enough contradiction between the prologue and the ending for you to wonder if it is all fake. And they leave enough room, just like in the first game, with them staring at the exit, but you don't know what's on the other side. They leave enough room there for you to wonder if it was all true or not.
Right. And then if worst case scenario, because November's coming up, 10th anniversary, Spike Chunsoft and the Danganronpa crew are obviously going to do something big coming this November in 2020.
Yeah.
If the world's still alive at that point.
Yeah. If we get through this fucking year, Jesus.
Yeah. But they're obviously going to do something big. If they're going to do a new Danganronpa game, they can either choose one of the many theories about this game and run with it.
Another one of the joys of V3's ending. They can easily just make it canon or make it not canon. There are plenty of ways that they could work it into being canon, and if they don't feel like going through all that, they could easily just say, yeah, V3's not canon, and then they could just continue the story from 2. It wouldn't be hard at all.
Well, technically Danganronpa 3, the anime, but we haven't seen the anime.
Yeah, so...
Danganronpa 3, the anime, Killing Game was kind of short, though, so it's not really...
Well, I mean, it was an anime that ran for only so many episodes, so...
Yeah. It was literally the mastermind got everyone in the room, watch these videos or die, and then they all commit suicide, except for Makoto.
Wow, rough. So yeah, let's move on to our ratings, because we're just over an hour in, and we still have a lot of stuff we gotta get through here, so... Jared,
this is deep, yo.
Yeah, Jared, on the major ego scale, -10 through 10, what would you rate the ending?
Personally or objectively?
Both.
Personally, I would give it, the personal ending, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Mainly because, personally, I don't like that kind of stuff. It's just not my taste. It's not my forte. It's not my writing. I always like seeing the triumphant hero's return. My biggest thing is seeing people overcome all adversities and everything like that, going through going the distance and stuff like that through genuinely good written villain type characters, not something like the writers themselves, because that's just kind of to me in my personal mind, it's wow, good job, you make your characters defeat you. They're just so badass. They're so cool. What's up with that, man? I'm because then it just throws me out for the loop.
Yeah.
But on an objective level, I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. It is not 100% perfect. There could be a few little tweaks in there that could make it a little bit more, a little bit better. Mainly for if Tsumugi, I know this is the point. If Tsumugi had absolute faith in the world, but she should have just voted. She should have had a safety. She should have the backup just in case things didn't go awry.
Yeah.
But that's more of a knock on Tsumugi and stuff like that. I wasn't a big fan of the argument armament thing and stuff like that, talking back to the world and stuff like that. And you cannot convince me that it was an actual everyone voted for that, because if you've been on the internet for that long, a vast majority of people do not vote for one thing.
Yeah.
And that is very hard to believe that.
Yeah. So,
But those are just like little minor gripes from a writing perspective. Just little niggles, and otherwise a greatly written thing. It's just personally, it is not my taste. So subjectively, I would give it a 6 out of 10, but objectively, I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a bit of the opposite, because as we've said already, I'm a slut for meta writing. So, personally, I would give it a 10 out of 10. So, I think I'll just say that off the top. I'm a bit biased, but...
A bit?
Yeah, I love it, dude. This is the kind of writing that I fucking love. I love characters giving the middle finger to fate and saying, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do my own thing. Because there's just... It's just so good. I don't even know how to explain how I like it so much. I just enjoy it a lot. I think it's very clever.
It gives you a... It's because I can break it down as mainly because it's not done super well commonly in media.
Yeah.
Because the shit I like, people are like, you like the Triumphant Hero's Return? And like stuff, doesn't that get boring after a while? No, I've been through a depressing life so far. I like to see people come out happy. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the idea of being met with an impossible decision between this or that, and saying, I don't want to pick either, so I'm not going to. And even if it fucks everything up on a cosmic scale for you to pick a different option, you do it anyways because fuck the people in charge.
Oh, you would love playing the Witcher series, I just realized.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the Netflix show, but I've never played the games. I do want to play the games now after watching the show.
Yeah. The girl literally has the option of not doing anything in these situations. So yeah, you...
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
But that's more like that gets me good because that's like an RPG, stuff like that. So they're just like, what if I don't do this? What happens to the world if I don't do this? And then they're like, well, you didn't do that? Well, this is how fucked up the world is now. And you're like, oh shit, what? I thought it was a side quest for a checkmark. What the fuck? This actually had ramifications?
Yep. So yeah, subjectively, 10 out of 10. I think it's some of the best meta writing that's been done in recent years that I've seen. Anyway, there's probably a bit out there that I just haven't seen yet. I don't read a lot. I need to read more. But objectively, I'm gonna have to agree with you and give it a 9 out of 10. It's real solid. It's got a couple weak points that I can't, from a critical standpoint, I can't overlook. Like, I'm pretty easy to please. I can look at, small mistakes and be like, that's fine. They're not glaring. I can ignore them. They don't ruin the overall experience for me. That's fine. But looking at it critically, you have to look at them whether they're there or not. And
right.
It's the ending's got a couple weak points. I mostly just... One of the biggest things about V3 for me is that it's just... There are so many missteps of wasted potential throughout the entirety of V3. And...
Yeah, this is the ending. We're talking about the ending in general. When we get through all the V3 casts and when we finally do the Samugi episode, we're going to rate the story as a whole.
Yeah.
And trust us, there are some very big missed opportunities.
There's a lot of missed opportunities in this game.
Yeah, that just break our heart as writers.
Yeah.
It absolutely destroys us.
The biggest missed opportunity of the ending. Sorry, the biggest missed opportunity of the ending is Samugi as the mastermind, because the second she gets called out, you get to see Samugi mastermind for maybe 10 lines of dialogue, and then she turns into Danganronpa, the character, and she just shatters everything.
Right.
If there would have been more just straight up Samugi, there isn't even really a motive behind her either. She just wanted to create the perfect copy of a killing game.
Right.
And even that is just kind of makes no sense. Yeah, that makes no sense either in the perspective of the fourth wall breaking and none of it being real. Yeah. So,
right.
You know?
Which we have a theory about that.
Yeah, that's coming up later in our off-script theory.
Yeah.
So
That theory, if you're a hardcore Samuki hater, hear us out on this theory. You might appreciate Samuki better.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So that's the ending of Danganronpa V3. We enjoyed it a lot.
Now we're gonna go down the. Yeah. Well, personally, I did not enjoy it, but I cannot.
Yeah, you personally.
I cannot, but it said me out. Like, I cannot sit there and look at this cake. Like, it could be like, I'm not a big fan of like strawberry cake, but if you put me in a room with the world's best strawberry cake in front of me and you say you have to eat this, I'm not gonna like it. But if it's the world's best strawberry cake, I'm still gonna say, yeah, this is the world's best strawberry cake.
This is definitely pretty good, but it's not for me. Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine to recognize that something is good and still not like it.
Yeah. It's like me personally. Like, if you're a big Eminem fan, I do not like a lot of Eminem's music. But as a person, I can respect and appreciate the things he's made.
Yeah.
And how far he's done it and how much he's changed.
There's a reason
Just
he's
because
revered as the man that he is because he's very good in the rap field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if
I
you're
always
not a
call him
fan of
white
his
boy.
music, you can still understand that he is the best at doing that.
Yeah, I always call it white boy rapping because
Well, yeah, he can't say certain words, and that's fine.
Yeah,
So,
but that's fine. But I could still sit there and being like, I can appreciate for what he is. Me personally, though, I am not a fan of it.
yeah,
So that's why that separates people who sit there and like, well, I hate the entire thing because I didn't like this one little thing about it. But I'm like, but what about the rest of the elements that were good? Well, this one little thing has ruined it entirely for me. That is not good criticism.
yeah,
Good criticism is sitting there appreciating the good and the bad and looking at it from an objective point of view.
yeah.
Being opinionated and basing everything on feelings and stuff like that, it's not really good criticism.
Yeah, it's hard for you to give a fair criticism to something if you're going based just on your feelings.
Yeah, because if we're gonna do that, I could sit there and like, oh yeah, Kamaida's the worst fucking character in all of Danganronpa. He's a piece of shit little scumbag, and I hope he fucking dies, and all the fans who love him are troglodytes for liking such a shit character, if we're going off of my feelings. But in an objective point of view, if you like Komaida, you have a pretty good reason to, because he's a really well-written character.
Yeah.
And just because I disagree that he's not one of my favorite characters, and I don't personally like him, does not mean I cannot appreciate him for being a well-written character.
Same with Junko. I mean, it's no secret. We at Major Ego do not enjoy Junko that much. But we can still sit here, like, me especially, she has a lot of very strong things about her character. There's just elements to her that I personally do not enjoy that much. And there's things about her in the writing sense that don't line up quite enough for me. But I think she's fine. Yeah. She's fine.
Like, we will bash her to the ends of the earth in a subjective point of view. Basically, just on the personality switching alone. But even then, we can sit there and be like, well, from the writing standpoint, she's fine. Yeah. She's not. She's ironically, we were gonna say this, so like she's fine, but she's still like the weakest mastermind out of the three.
I would say she's the second. Like, if we had to rank them best to worst, I'd say she's in the middle. Only because Izuru Kamakura, being mastermind of Danganronpa 2, you don't fucking know anything about him. You get like 2 cutscenes of him that are both like a couple seconds long, and that's it.
No, you get 2 cutscenes and 1 nonstop debate with him, and that's it.
That's it.
You don't know
anything about him.
You know about his plan.
Yeah, you know about his plan and like the fact that he is Hajime in the real world after what Junko did to him, but that's it. Like, you never actually really get to like talk to him or know Izuru Kamakura. And for that, I think he's the weakest mastermind, and we'll go a little more in depth on that in the Izuru Kamakura episode.
Just watch the anime, boy. If you don't,
yeah, we know that he gets more coverage in the anime, and again, that's fine. But we're looking at the games solely as the games, without all the background stuff. That's also why we're not talking about Ultra Despair Girls. One, because we haven't played it. We probably will at some point, but it's a side game, and it's not heavily related, as far as I know, to the main games. We're mostly just looking at the main games. We'll probably do an episode in the future talking about Danganronpa, another episode, but yeah.
Fun fact, Dylan wanted to play a Danganronpa another episode right before 2, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
the servant gives away a lot.
Yeah, it spoils some stuff for Danganronpa 2, so...
You're gonna just imagine playing that game and then going to Danganronpa 2, and I'm like, well, I can't trust Kamida.
Yeah, well, I know he's a fucking... Yeah. Alright, well, now we're going to move on to the hints. Mostly just going to talk about specific characters in V3 that knew there was way more going on than anyone else. Rantaro specifically. He's gonna be a big one, but we're also gonna talk about like Kokichi and a couple others.
Right. So the biggest obvious one is that Rantaro knew what was going on right off the bat, because he had some information, like he knew what the Ultimate Hunt was right in the beginning.
He remembered Ultimate Hunt before anyone else had even remembered anything.
Right. So that begs the question: did Rantaro have all the Force memories unlocked? Or just was always one flashback light ahead of everyone else?
I think he was just one flashback light ahead of everyone, but because he was the only one ahead, he didn't really know what any of it was, and he couldn't make sense of any of it.
Yeah, and he can't even trust his own words either, so... Yeah, he even said it himself, like, I guess you can't even trust anyone in this situation. Hell, I'm having a hard time trusting myself. And at that point in time, you're like, huh? You have trust issues and shit like that? Well, no, it's because there was a message left by himself talking to him about the information about, like, the ultimate survivor, the map of the entire school, and a message warning from himself saying, basically, do not tell anyone this information, but only to people that you trust.
Yeah. And then immediately followed that up with, don't trust anyone, not even yourself.
Right.
Thanks, Pastor Rantaro. Yeah. Thank you. Very cool.
Yeah. That thing, I'm going to talk about more about that in my Rantaro theory, but
honestly, I guess I kind of lied. There's only so much with Rantaro. There's a lot of Kokichi stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have our own personal theory about what the hell's going on with Kokichi and Suichi.
Yeah.
But with Kokichi, right in the beginning,
let's start off by cementing the fact that you do not get to see Kokichi's lab until the final chapter when you're in the middle of a timed investigation. Right. And his lab is like Saturday morning cartoon villain Batcave, full of all kinds of random bullshit.
Yeah.
So... Yeah.
And you're like, yeah.
But there's evidence that he had been there already.
Right.
Like, what was it, the big thing that you found down there? Was it the book, The History of Hope's Peak Academy? Right?
Yeah.
But there was also, like, stuff written on the boards about the other survivors, too, if I remember
That was in his room.
Oh, right. What else was there in his lab?
Well, there was a bunch of supervillain equipment and stuff like that. A big old throne with his hat and his coat and stuff like that. So yeah, because you never see with him with his hat or his coat in game.
Yeah, even though it's on his artwork.
Yeah, you don't see him with the hat and the coat.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably he left like his hat or coat down there, and it's in the basement. So by technicality, it could have been there since the very beginning. And in Chapter 5 specifically, you cannot find Kokichi.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically means, like, where the fuck did he go?
I think it's implied that he was hiding in the Exisal hangar the whole time, but we're not entirely sure. And there's no way to confirm it.
Right.
But we don't know how, and we don't know when, but we are pretty sure that Kokichi found his lab long before you did. And that he was in and out of there somewhat frequently. Hiding from the others when he was at the top of everyone's fucking murder list.
And this also gives credence to him spontaneously appearing out of nowhere, because he could be down there. There is a computer down there. He could be monitoring the situation outside and wherever he needs, because he conveniently shows up in case 3 to unlock a door.
Yep.
Out of fucking nowhere.
There are a couple instances throughout the game where Kokichi just kind of comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're wondering, because obviously the only secret passage you find is the one in the girls' bathroom leading to the mastermind's room, but who's to say that there isn't more?
Right.
Plus, the way that Kokichi's lab was sealed off, it literally blows... You don't even find the entrance to it until Kibo accidentally, destroys the opening that leads you down to the door. And that's when he's in the middle of destroying the school.
Also, fun fact, Kibo and Kokichi were right in the beginning of the game. They were in that area right before the game started. So, when Kokichi was asking Kibo if robots have dicks, but that's for a different... We love the gay gremlin grape soda boy.
We just don't understand the gay gremlin purple soda boy. Not entirely anyway. We got a pretty good understanding of him. But so it's possible. It's possible from these little teeny tiny details like that he has been in and out of his lab frequently throughout the game. We're not sure when he found it. We're not sure if he did it all. But we have a feeling, based on some small details and a bit of guesswork, that it's possible he could have found his lab sooner.
Yeah.
And that there's a separate entrance to it that he used. Because like I said, the entrance that you use in the game when you find it is a literal hole blasted in the floor that was hiding the entrance. That Kibo just managed to uncover as he was blowing the school up from the outside.
Fighting the exos.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Because, again, the killing game was also supposed to continue until 2 people were left, or until a Blackened got away with a murder. So, I mean, obviously they would have had secret passages and items to give you to unlock more areas of the school as the game would have gone on that long. So it's possible that there was an item that you would have gotten after case 6, if there was a 6th murder. It's possible you would have gotten another item that would have probably unlocked Kokichi's thing the usual way, but because of Kibo, it fucking just blew the whole thing up, and you got down there anyway.
Yeah, but also that it was destroyed.
Yep.
You couldn't get in there because Kokichi was dead.
Yeah.
By the rules of what Monokuma said.
Yeah, so Kibo had to blow the door open too. So.
Well, yeah, the door was already open, and they were like, "Well, they can't go inside. Fuck the rules. We're going inside." Ah!
Yeah. Yep. Which, funny enough, Kibo also had to do to Rantaro's room, because Rantaro's room is on the top floor of the academy. And that'll fit into Jer's Rantaro theory coming up after we're done talking about Kokichi. And was there someone else that had some very glaring hints to them?
No, it was literally Kokichi.
It was mainly Kokichi and Rantaro. I could have swore there was someone else. Maybe not.
Well, maybe we'll bump into them. We'll maybe bump into them if we just keep going down
We'll
the
remember
list.
halfway through the fucking theory at the end, and then we'll be like, oh, okay, backtrack time. God.
Yeah.
Professional podcasters, by the way.
Professional? We only have, 3
We're
under
not
our
professional,
belt?
it's just, I don't know. Yeah. You'd think we'd have a handle on it by now. God damn it.
Nah. These are more like ramblings than podcasts, if you ask me,
Yeah,
but...
at this point.
Yeah. But, yeah, and that also explains why Kokichi was weirdly omniscient through the entire game.
Yeah, because being your rival character, Swish Swish, your rival, he was always very, a couple steps ahead of everyone. And, granted, in, the Gonta case, in case 4, he was he was, heavily involved in that. He was, in the center. So he knew everything that was going on, yes. But other cases...
Even case 2 specifically, if we all just did what Kokichi said and watched all the motive videos together, we would not have the Tojo Ryoma situation, because everyone would have known that Tojo has the thing the most to live for, and Ryoma would be so suicidal as fuck because he has nothing to live for.
Really fucking depressing, dude. Poor Ryoma.
Yeah. But yeah. So if we just did what Kokichi said, none of it would have happened. But the problem is, Kokichi's a little shit.
And he went about it in a way that made everybody fucking hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also didn't manage to get everyone's motive videos either.
Right.
There were a couple people he couldn't find.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The big tipping point was Maki's motive video. That's why he was immediately hostile towards Maki.
Yep.
And I love Dylan saying, he's like, well, he told me he didn't see in the videos. Did you take Kokichi at his word?
I was so believing of Kokichi, like, the entire fucking time, all the way up until, like, I think it was, like, right after case 3 where I finally got it through my head, like, don't take anything he says literally, because it's probably a fucking lie. I think it wasn't until that point where I was like, oh, that's right, he lies all the time. What he's saying is probably bullshit. That was also around the same time that I realized how to tell when he's telling the truth, though, because there are very, I wouldn't say obvious, but Kokichi does have some tells in his sprite work for you to be able to know if he's being truthful or not.
His dialogue.
Yeah, the way he says words, the way he speaks is very telling also.
If he's being affluent and being like bombastic in a way, he is lying.
Mm-hmm.
He's lying. But if he's saying things plain, simple, and with like full of like emotion and shit like that, telling the truth.
Or like the sprite where he's got both his hands fisted in front of him and he's got the stars in his eyes and he looks like an excited little child, that's a lying sprite. But the sprite where he's just kind of like smiling sinisterly and he has his finger held up in front of his lips like he's shushing you, that's a truth sprite. Yeah. If he's got that sprite, whatever he's saying is most likely the truth.
Yeah.
He has tells, but like it's nothing that you'll pick up on immediately. It's stuff that you figure out over time as you play. And if you pay attention to Kokichi, there are things about him like that you notice.
And you're just going through that, and you're just like, whoa, this kid's fucking creepy sometimes.
Yeah, he's got some legitimately scary moments, just like fucking Nagito did.
Who's more scary, Nagito or Kokichi?
I would say Kokichi, because Kokichi's got that sprite where his hair turns white and his face turns black, and then he's also got that sprite where his like face is like very shadowed and he just looks like completely fucking unhinged. Komaido's just got that sprite where he's just got a shrugging sprite with crazy eyes instead of the normal eyes. That's really about it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But, Kokichi, man. There's a lot to Kokichi. I don't really quite get why the fan base hates him so much. There's a lot of Kokichi hate.
Yeah, there is an abnormal amount of Kokichi hate. Like, my god, like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I know there's a lot of Kokichi left, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who love Kokichi, but there's also a lot of people who really hate Kokichi, and we don't know why.
Not quite sure.
And some people say, well, he got Gonta killed. That's not the only reason. People love Nagito, and Nagito got Chiaki killed, man!
I was sad that Gonta got killed too, but, I mean, you can tell. Like we were just saying, there's tells. Once you get to know Kokichi a little bit and you pay attention to him, it's easy to tell when he's telling the truth and when he's lying. And his breakdown when Gonta was about to get executed, where he cried, that was real. Yeah. That was legit depression and regret for what happened to Gonta. Anger. Yeah, and anger.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he sat there, he could not comprehend. Because he's a lying guy, right? Mm-hmm. So he's looking at Gonta, he's literally shaking him like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you fighting? You need to lie to survive! Yeah. And Gonta's like, Gonta can't do that. Gonta a gentleman. Yeah. Gonta cannot lie. And Kokichi's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Kokichi's crying fit breakdown after Gonta's trial wraps up and he gets voted guilty, like right before he gets executed. Kokichi's breakdown, that was real. if you don't believe that was real, then I don't know what to tell you, because it definitely was. His rant shortly after, where he was like, "Huh, did you think I was actually sad? No, it's because I'm the mastermind." Like, that was definitely fake. There's,
Yeah.
you know he was bullshitting, because you know he's not the mastermind, so.
Yeah.
His relation with
'Cause
Gonta was real. There was real friendship there. It's just like Hiyoko and Mahiru in Danganronpa 2. Gonta was the only character in this entire fucking game who was legitimately nice to Kokichi, and he probably spent more time with Kokichi than anyone else did. So,
Right. Which ironically made him the perfect lackey for his job, but at the same time,
it put him in the crosshairs.
Could we really fault Kokichi for what happened in Case 4? I say absolutely not. That was 100% Mew's fault.
Yeah. Well, Miyu put them in the situation. Kokichi did tell Gonta to kill her, didn't he? Or wasn't it an accident?
No, Kokichi was like looking around in like the files when Mew was going around getting everyone.
Right, I know. I mean the moment on the roof when it happened. Didn't he tell Gonta to kill her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he told because Kokichi can't do shit.
Yeah.
He touches Mew, he's frozen.
Yep.
And because if you think about it, Kokichi always had a plan in every single case.
Mm-hmm. He was always trying to be one step
3.
ahead. He was the one who kept repeating to everyone like Monokuma that this is a game and it needs to be played like one. Like, Kokichi didn't have all the pieces. Like, he didn't understand that they were on like some reality TV bullshit, but he understood that there was an audience, there were people watching, and it was a game. Like, he understood that long before anyone else did.
Yeah, and basically, if you think about it, if you look back to Case 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the ending of Case 3, Kokichi wasn't really a big part of, but mainly he gives you a bunch of important clues in Case 3. He's the only one person who can lockpick, and he fell in the floor for Seesaw Man's little trap, and it's a lie!
It's a lie! Yeah. Kokichi is a very big part of this game. He's a big part of, like, almost every case in the entirety of V3, and I don't think a whole lot of people really notice that. He's always one step ahead. He's got a lot of knowledge that he's privy to, and you're not sure how he could be.
Yeah. But, like, the biggest tell that he knows this is all a game is when he had a single, like, dialogue with Monokuma.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, it literally was a throw out into the hook.
I have an idea to make the killing game more interesting.
Because remember, the motive for the for Case 4 was a card key to the outside world, right?
Yeah.
He immediately swipes the card key to the outside world, and he like manages to go to see outside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of them making the game a little interesting. He knows what's out in the outside world, right? To him, it looks destroyed, despaired, and it looks like everything is on the hell, right?
Yep.
There's no way Kokichi would not know that, because he's the one who took the card for the motive. So he goes up to Monokuma, and this is basically a gamble for Kokichi at this point in time, because there's two ways this could have gone. He calls to Monokuma and asks if he can make the killing game more interesting. If he says, no, I don't want to work with the students, then he knows this is legitimate, real, the world's totally destroyed. Mm-hmm. But Kokichi's running theory for that point in time was that this is all a game. Why would there be so many implications onto the rules and stuff like that?
Why would Monokuma be so strict on the rules if there wasn't someone else watching from the outside?
Right. So what Kokichi did was basically saying, I have a way to make the killing game interesting. Interested? And Monokuma was like, oh, ho. People are not going to like you for this, but sure, I'll bite. And then Kokichi's literally in his head. He was like, fucking
That's the confirmation for Monokuma right there, that there are people out there watching this killing game. There is an audience. Yeah. That was the confirmation.
Yeah, that was confirmation for him. So what? The additional motive for the Case 4 was that there was some hidden secret to the outside world inside the virtual world, which was the flashback light. Unfortunately for Kokichi, he was being targeted by Mew, and he knew this, so he had to act fast during this entire situation. So that's why he can only trust Gonta and in this situation. Because Mew is trying to kill him, and he needs to be quick, or otherwise he's gonna die. If Mew wasn't targeting him, he probably would have been like, "Hey guys, I found this flashback light. Want to take a look at this real quick?"
Honestly,
and
if
then
Mew wasn't trying to kill Kokichi, there's a strong chance he could have at least come close to ending the whole killing game right there.
Yeah. If he was allowed to get to that flashback light and allowed to get into the Neo World program and show it to everyone, he could have fucking won this shit. Absolutely.
He would have ended the whole game.
He would have done what Suichi would have done 2 chapters later.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was so close. He was honestly so close to doing it. But Mew was targeting him. And this comes up to the theory about a little bit later, but I'll get to that one. I'll talk about it later. And it's the reason why Samugi's really upset about what's going on in there.
Yep.
But since Mew was targeting him, he's like, well, I have no choice. I have to use Gonta because Gonta's the only person I can actually trust in this situation right now to actually help me. Because in his eyes, in Kokichi's eyes, he's probably the only person who can probably figure this out. Maybe Suichi, if he can trust him. But Kokichi has trust issues, so he can't really trust anyone in this situation. Because what if Suichi's the mastermind, and he's been playing into the trap all the entire time?
Yeah.
So this leads into case 5, where he immediately, after having like a mental breakdown about Gonta, I think Kokichi just fucking snaps.
Yeah, with Gonta gone, that lie that he tells after his breakdown, right after Gonta gets executed, where he tells everyone like, "Oh, you thought I was actually sad? No, I'm not actually sad. Gonta was a big dumb idiot. He got what he deserved for killing somebody. I'm the mastermind, and I am gonna fucking take this killing game to the next level." Yada yada. Like, that was a lie, straight up. That was just him lying to himself. Yeah. But it was also a declaration of, this killing game is as good as fucking dead. Like, that was his declaration of war on the mastermind. Yeah. Because case 5 was his fucking attack. And it is like Fighting Sands at the fucking genocide run of Undertale, where he just threw his strongest attack out first.
Yeah. And that was immediately hijacking the Exisouls.
Yeah, he hijacked the Exisouls, and he hijacked the killing game to make a murder that not even Monokuma knew the correct answer to, so that if Monokuma could be wrong, the whole killing game would be null and void right then and there. And he gave his life for that. He died for that shit. And he was almost successful. He was... pretty much would have been successful. The only reason it didn't work is because Shuichi is a good fucking detective. Because if Monokuma was wrong, this entire game would be pointless. Yep. And I think that's what Kaito realized, that situation. I'm like, whoa, kid, you actually are pretty smart. You actually know what you're doing. And that's why I kind of feel like Kaito has a newfound respect for Kokichi in that moment. It's still like, he doesn't like him, but there's a respect there for him now. It's like that picture I sent you, Dylan. Like, well, you were honest to me for once in your life. Yeah, you were honest with yourself for once, so I'll be the liar for you in return. Yeah. Yep. Very powerful stuff, man. But then people are going to be like, what if it was a lie? I'm like, boy, there's so much evidence pointing to that this is not a lie. There's also what Kaito tells us in the flashback with Kokichi's last words before he gets crushed. Yeah. Was it... hey, at least I wasn't boring, At least I wasn't boring. That is a big fucking... like, that screams that he knows they're in a game show. Yeah. It screams it. He is so, like, far ahead in this story compared to everyone else. And it just blew my mind. And thinking about it now, and we'll get to this in the off-script theory at the end, there's a reason. There's a strong meta reason why he is so privy to all this information. And I'll go over that in a bit. So, but he also says, like, because this is another moment where, you know, people just see Kokichi's a liar, but this is a moment where he was definitely being honest. Is when, like, I don't remember what Kaito asks him, or how I don't remember how this part gets, like, initiated, but Kokichi literally, like, starts crying, but it's like an angry cry to Kaito, and he says, because I'm...
No, they were talking about, what if you're the mastermind? Why are you doing all this? I'm like, no, you dumb idiot. I'm not the mastermind. Yeah. And they'd be like, then why? Why are you doing this? What, is it an obvious? What? Well, who likes to enjoy a game that you're forced to play?
Yeah.
It's not right. And especially the game where you have to kill.
No joke is worth it
that.
if someone has to die.
Yeah.
And with tears in his eyes, he tells Kaito, I'm sick of this killing game. Like, that entire chain of dialogue to Kaito, that was all pure, honest Kokichi Oma. There was not a single lie in any of those sentences. He was going above and fucking beyond to fucking get this shit done and over with. And he failed every step of the way because just complications, the mastermind trying to outdo him, Miyu trying to kill him, Shuichi being a fucking good detective. God damn it, Shuichi, why are you so good at being a detective? Maki trying to kill him. Maki basically did fucking kill him.
Kaito almost did kill him too. He shot him in the leg.
Yeah. It's just so much pushback. And he still came so close to ending the killing game. So close.
Yeah. That's why when I say if Kokichi would have made it to the end, he would have probably have died from a fucking mental breakdown.
Yeah, Kokichi would not have survived the fucking world-shattering fourth wall break.
Yeah. He would have just been like, nope, and it just would have just collapsed on the floor right then and there.
God, I really thought there was other people we were going to talk about. We spent like a good 15 minutes on Kokichi.
Props to Tsumugi, though, for being able to hide in plain sight with the person who can tell when someone's lying almost
Kokichi's the living lie detector, and he still didn't realize Tsumugi was the mastermind. I think he died not knowing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did die not knowing.
He probably had a pretty good idea that it was Tsumugi, though.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like there was literally mountains of evidence that he has.
When you get into his room in the final investigation, he literally has like at least 3 pieces of evidence from every single murder trial you've done previous, just sitting in his bedroom.
And then like boxes upon boxes of fucking
boxes of fucking information that Maki fucking offers to sift through while you're off doing other shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Jesus, dude, he fucking hoarded so much evidence. And this, again, will play into the off-script theory that we're going to go over at the end. So.
Right.
Alright. Well, we are way behind on time. We're coming up on almost 2 hours here, so let's hurry in to Jer's Rantaro theory here, and then we'll get into the off-script theory for the end.
Alright, so... what was my Rantaro theory?
God, really? We got this far and you fucking forgot.
No, okay. I'm kidding.
You son of a bitch.
I want the Monotaro moment, damn it.
I need that clip of Sonya swearing. Shit.
Jesus Christ, you bullshit bitch.
Alright, go ahead.
But no, my Rantaro theory is that he was not a part of game 52. He was actually a part of, like, killing game number 4. And here's the reason why. And they might actually go with this. This is actually, they might actually reveal killing game with Rantaro in it. But he might not actually be a protagonist. He just might be the rival or an ally in that situation. But I do not think he's going to be the main character of that game. It'd be too obvious, and it'd be way too convenient. There's going to be like another whole entire cast, and they're going to be survivors of that game as well. They're going to be like the survivors of the 4th game. Correct, right? And my theory is that he was a survivor of the 4th game. And during that situation, everything in Danganronpa is still canon and within the Danganronpa universe. So in the 4th game, not related to anything with V3, he's going around, and in that case, there's hinted to something even greater, like, at play here. And Rantaro knew this. This is where he would probably be going around trying to find other people to save them from the killing games. because at this point in time, meta writing or not, the fourth killing game is a thing. It's becoming a worldwide serial killer phenomenon. It's like becoming Saw in real life is like an equivalent right there. Yeah. Like, and it's going to be publicly broadcast to the world. So there would be the group of survivors in that situation are probably going around the entire world trying to find situations of that specific killing game. Like if there's a killing game setting up, they're going out risking their life and limb to being able to stop those killing games from happening and trying to save everyone as much as possible. They're going to put their lives on the line to ultimately stop the game. This is why when you go into the prologue, this is why Rantaro knows exactly what's going on, what's happening, and he wants to know who the real mastermind behind this is before he gets flashback lighted and loses all those memories. Yeah. And he gets the memories of the ultimate survivor, which, to be clear, I think he got flashback light twice before he got before anything actually happened with him specifically, because the mastermind of that killing game, barring that's going to play into our off-script theory, is that the mastermind of the game knew that Rantaro was a threat, so he had them flashback light him twice. The first time, while everyone was still unconscious, he still had to flashback light him, where he has to believe that he was a survivor of the last previous killing game, had them make the recording, and had to make the recording video of himself and the message that he left for himself. Then once he did that, and it was all said and good, where the mastermind knew that he was underneath the influence the entire time, he gets flashback lighted again, and then he wakes up with the rest of the cast, and he doesn't know who he is as the ultimate survivor. Because this is really weird, because if this ties it to the post-game a little bit, and a lot of the things you could take with the post-game with a grain of salt, but this is V3, you could take literally anything for the same amount of grain of salt for this entire work. Yeah. So for this specific situation itself, we're going to take the post-game content into reality. Because if you play through the post-game, you're playing as Suichi. And they're talking more about they're stuck in this romantic, like, getaway stuff like that, where they... First two people who fall in love get to leave, and the rest are part of the killing game. They're specifically talking about that situation. They're not talking about the killing game situation. And that's where you start to, like, talk to him. He gets, like, a little bit more of his information. He's got missing sisters. And in that situation, they don't get flashback lighted in that situation. So they are not being implanted with false memories. But that can also be part of the meta writing, that you could say, well, of course they didn't flashback lighted. They all have their own personalities at that point in time. Rantaro's the special case because Kaede's dialogue in her supports with Rantaro, the only specific support that she gets with Rantaro is talking about how how Rantaro's been in this situation before. But that's the ultimate survivor work at play. If you're talking to Rantaro in the post-game, he's specifically talking about looking for someone, looking for people and stuff like that. He's looking for his missing sisters. This killing game to him is whack and all that nonsense, and he doesn't approve of it, but he's still looking for his missing sisters. And this is where Suichi uses his detective work to realize that his ultimate talent is ultimate big brother. But I like to say he's the ultimate adventurer, because he also says he travels across the seas, he goes across the highest mountains, he goes across everything in the world, and he has a compass on his shirt, for Christ's sake.
Shuichi doesn't say that he's the ultimate big brother. Shuichi says that that's like a nickname. He's like, that's what you should have been called. He doesn't say you are the ultimate big brother. He says, like, dang, maybe you should have been called the ultimate big brother instead, huh?
Yeah, and Rantaro, like, smiles, and, like, the first time he actually sees Rantaro.
Yeah, it's a genuine smile, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, my theory is that Rantaro was part of the fourth killing game.
Not the 52nd.
Not the 52nd. It's part of the fourth killing game. He's probably was part of the Future Foundation before this, and he was going around with some of the survivors of the fourth killing game specifically to save people from the killing game situation that's probably becoming a worldwide phenomenon. Yeah. Because you can only have the what's it called? The first killing game be everything revolved around Junko for so very long.
Yeah.
But then other serial killers could probably be inspired by this, who are manic enough, depraved enough, and crazy enough to do this.
Yep.
Example for one, Izuru Kamakura, and whoever what's his fucking, who was Junko's girlfriend, boyfriend in the anime with the third killing game, where he just straight up just started killing people.
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
I haven't
I've
seen
only
that
really
either,
seen clips of Nagito.
Yeah. But yeah, you can only have so much around Junko for so very long, because that's not how real life works. So it's probably some other manic depression, like probably a guy who was like, man, this despair nonsense sounds really good. Maybe I should go into label myself as ultimate despair and have this killing game, because people who are depraved enough and they find entertainment and fun and stuff like that, and if they're like massively like serial killer level type people, they will go out and do that. They will round up a bunch of kids around their age who have ultimate talents with so much conviction, they will put them in a situation and they will do that. That's how people work. That's how fucking crazy people work, guys, ladies and gentlemen. They will do anything and everything in this situation. This is why we put them in straitjackets and keep them in like a mental institution if they're crazy enough.
Yep.
Because they will do that. They will do that. It's not a matter of if, they will do that. So the situation is that Junko's killing game would have become a worldwide phenomenon. The fourth killing game would have happened. Rantaro and the crew that survived that killing game specifically are going out and going to save people from the killing game. And I would say like because there's always a theme in these games, like B3's Truth and Lies. I could get confused. The fourth killing game, I'll put it in quotation marks, that the fourth killing game, which is Rantaro's game, would have been something like capture and rescue.
Or control and freedom, I think, is what you told me earlier.
That was my spitballing. If there was like a six killing game,
I remember you throwing that out at some point.
Yeah, that one's not part of the Rantaro theory. That's me just spitballing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But based off of this theory, and that would mean the ultimate tragedy of Rantaro is that he actually failed in his duty with these survivors from this specific killing game to go out and save these group of kids. Rantaro ultimately failed. And I believe this is the case because Rantaro, deep down inside, doesn't matter who, as a person, or how many times you've been rewritten, you're still fundamentally a person saying that you were deep down inside. And I think Rantaro knew that. That's why he couldn't trust himself in the killing game. Because he deep down inside knew that this was wrong. So he couldn't take his word for it. He couldn't take anyone else's word for it because he was in a situation that he couldn't remember anyone who he was. No one else knew who they were except they have ultimate talents and their names, and that's it. He was the odd one out, so he couldn't trust anything he said. He couldn't trust anyone else who said anything. And so he was caught in a catch-22. Deep down inside, he wanted to end the killing game. Plain and simple. And so he wanted to do that any means necessary. That's what he felt deep down inside. And fortunately or unfortunately for him, he had the knowledge at his disposal right off the bat to do so. And he decided to act on it to stop the killing game right then and there. Against the mastermind's better judgment. I believe that the mastermind of the killing game of V3 did not want Rantaro to use the information that he had in this situation to end the killing game. I think he want the mastermind of V3, and I'm not saying Samugi because this ties into
we're talking Team Danganronpa. Swish swish.
Yeah, swish swish. Because that part comes into our off-script characters theory here in a bit. But Team Danganronpa did not want Rantaro in this situation to want to stop the killing game right off the back, which caused Tsumugi, their surrogate, to do desperate actions and desperate measures to come in and kill Rantaro because he had the access and the knowledge to go in and probably stop the killing game from happening.
Yup.
He could have succeeded, but Kaede fucked up.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that goes Kaede fucked up in this theory the off the script characters theory, it's going to be a different character who fucked up, and we'll tell you who. But in this situation, he fucked up. So he's not ironic character because he's the ultimate survivor. He was like the ultimate adventurer. He was a survivor of the previous killing game, and he immediately gets axed off for it. And I think he knew deep down inside that he wanted to save the kids in this situation from meeting a Grizzly M, because he knew he's had experience from a previous killing game, a real killing game, not like a TV show, Teen Danganronpa killing
trauma.
Game, from probably a different...
Straight up trauma that does not get easily washed away by flashback light.
Yeah. So he had severe, legit trauma, and this is probably a different serial killer mastermind, and he wanted to stop it no matter what, at what cost. And that's what cost him his life in the very beginning. Not because some flashback-like bullshit from Teen Danganronpa saying that that's how he was written. That's part of the off-script theory. Yeah. He was not acting on a script at that point. He was working off-script, which is where we segue into our off-script characters theory.
Yeah. So, the off-script theory...
I need a drink.
Yeah, go ahead. Get your drink. So the off-script theory, because, as established, I am a fan of meta writing. So this is the kind of stuff that I think about, because this is the kind of stuff that you can do with meta writing. So I presented the beginning of this theory, and Jared kind of added to it, and we both just kind of came to a conclusion that this is entirely possible in the context of V3. It's just stuff that you're not going to, see because of how the game is, and the whole idea of audience perspective and all that. But the idea, let's just start off at the very beginning of V3. When Kaede introduces herself, she literally says, "My name is Kaede Akamatsu, and I am the protagonist of this story." Right?
Right.
So the idea that I had is that, because the way Rantaro is set up at the beginning, and his design and everything, he looks like he could have been your rival, right? And that's...
More specifically,
Kaede's rival specifically, and that's why it's all the more shocking when he dies first, because you're like, whoa, there was a lot to this guy, and now he's dead, that's wild. And then Kaede dies too, and she was the protagonist, and then it makes you switch over to Shuichi. So, the running idea that I had with this is that Kaede really was the protagonist of this story. She, kind of like how we always talk about the roles of each character, whether they be a protag or an ally or just a regular castmate,
or a black end,
or a black end or a rival. Yeah. So Kaede was, with all intent, supposed to be the protag. Think about it like this. Tsumugi said she wrote this story. She's like, "Oh, Maki, your affection to Kaito? Yeah, I wrote that. That was the romance part. I did that." As a writer, you have to set things in motion. You have to put little hints leading up to what you're working towards, that kind of thing. And the whole idea of the meta writing is when the characters go off script. Is when they don't follow your story that you wrote. You write down, Kaede goes into this back room, and she notices these iron shot put balls, but she does not touch them. Whereas when you are actually witnessing the story happen, and Kaede decides to take one and hide it in her backpack, for example, that's off script. Because that's not what you, the writer, intended, but it's what the character is doing. So the whole idea that I had with the off-script theory is that Kaede and Rantaro were, from the get-go, meant to be the protag and the rival. But the both of them, right at the beginning, because of who they are, the mastermind was not counting on them being this determined to stop the killing game as soon as it started. So Kaede had her plan to kill the mastermind right away, which would have stopped the killing game, obviously, with the trap that she had set.
Yeah.
And Rantaro just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because just like Kaede was determined to stop this shit in its tracks. So he was down there, Kaede had her plan set in motion, and Tsumugi saw the opportunity to knock out two birds with one stone. two troublemakers who were going to, they were going off script instead of, because, established in like previous games, the protags usually don't participate in the murder game. They just try to stay alive, and when a murder happens, they call out and figure out who the murderer is, because if they don't, they're going to die. But you usually don't have the protags themselves actually attempt the murder because, they're smart enough not to fucking do that, and they're not killers. Kaede, I mean, you wouldn't think she's a killer, but she did attempt that. And that's the whole idea, is that she wasn't supposed to. Just like Rantaro was supposed to have that information, but hold on to it and probably do something smarter with it down the line.
Yeah, something more sinister down the line.
Like, you think about Nagito, who has, like, he goes through the fucking escape room in Danganronpa 2, in the funhouse, and he gets that information. And instead of just cracking the killing game apart, he holds on to it to use it in the trial and expose the killer, and things like that. Like it...
Well, his own
Yeah,
killer.
his own killer. It's stuff like that. Like, that's probably what they expect Rantaro to do with it. That's what you would expect the rival to do with it, is hold on to that information and just be the dick that has the information before you do, But Rantaro immediately tries to fucking use it. Just like Kaede immediately tries to kill the mastermind. It's two very distinct, out-of-role moves, and that's why it makes me think that it's off-script. And the result is that both of them end up dying. So now you have a story. Now you have a killing game without the rival and without the protag. So, obviously you need someone to fill those shoes. In comes Shuichi and Kokichi, who, if the theory stands, were the two that were probably going to be the first ones dead. So you've got Kokichi, who, in all possibility, depending on if he found his lab early on, which he could have, because like we said, at the very beginning, he and Kibo were in the very area where you find Kokichi's lab entrance. And we know that Kokichi is tricky and he's very clever, so it's possible that he had been having access to his lab this whole time. There is a good chance that Kokichi could have been down in the basement around the time that Rantaro was killed. And there is a moment when Kaede is hiding in the classroom with Shuichi where he says that he has a bad feeling and he wants to go down by himself and check. And I think that's just before all the other characters walk down and you see everyone go down into the basement. So...
That's where everyone's going to meet up and get ready to storm the Mastermind's lab, which at that point in time was on script.
Yeah. But Shuichi had that thought of wanting to go down there alone to check on things.
Yeah.
So... it's possible there could have been a moment. There could have been an on-script moment where Shuichi and Kokichi were going to have an altercation down there, and one of them was going to end up dead, and of course, the other one would have become the Blackened, and, they both would have been dead by case 1. Kaede would have had to move on without her husbando, bit of character development, but she's going to carry on the title of detective, since pianist is not necessarily something that's going to help solve a murder. And she's going to carry on that mantle of detective for Shuichi and get everyone out alive. That sense of like, oh, I failed everyone. And then there's the whole idea that we had where, and this was Jer's input, that Rantaro, being the rival, realizes that Kaede had this whole plan set in motion to try and kill the mastermind, and he ends up turning the entire group against her.
Yeah. Because, Kaede... Because my theory was in this, dealing with that point in time, I would just say, what if, Kaede, the alarm went off, and she threw down the iron ball failed, but Shuichi used the iron ball that she threw down there to kill Kokichi.
Or vice versa. Kokichi kills Shuichi.
Or vice versa. And then that has to come up in the trial, because then everyone's going to be like, where did the iron ball come from? Because Kaede's probably... is gotta have to admit to that, and knowing if it's gonna be an altercation and stuff like that, the body will not be near that camera.
Yeah,
it would probably be around somewhere near an entrance and stuff like that, with no blood trails.
Yep.
Or with no blood trails saying the body was dragged, or if the body was dragged, it would leave a blood trail.
So it would come up in the murder trial. And Rantaro would point out, because, Kaede in the beginning was going around and making immediate friends with fucking everyone, and she wanted everyone to get out of this okay. And
and wanted everyone to trust each other.
In that moment, Rantaro can turn the entire group against her, like, well, none of this would have happened if not for your little plot to fucking kill somebody, which you admitted that you were doing, Because keep in mind, this whole Kaede grabbing the ball thing could have been on script, but it very well could have been off script, because, again, the protags usually don't attempt to participate in the killing of the killing game. So this is a moment where Rantaro not only can say, okay, I definitely cannot trust Kaede, like, this is the turning point where he definitely becomes her rival, and says, this wouldn't have happened if not for you. And now the whole group is against her, except for Kaito, who, just like with Shuichi, is going to be the big brother who comes over and helps her out of her funk and slowly tries to turn the tide back into her favor,
Yeah.
So...
And
because she's Kaede and not Shuichi, I would like to think that Kaito would probably be a lot more, like, less Kaito, and instead of saying, like, oh yeah, hey, you'll be my sidekick until you're ready to take things over and take the helm. Maybe it'd be something more like, no, you did okay in the trial, figuring things out.
And people screw up from time to time. Live and learn.
Live and learn, which is exactly the kind of shit that he was saying to Shuichi.
Yeah.
So, it's not hard to think that Kaito would have treated her the same way, because, if we're going in the off-script thing, Kaito was meant to pick up the protag after the first case. He was meant to be there and be that motivation until they themselves got themselves back in the motivation wagon,
Right.
Because that's what Kaito did. And it's not hard to think that that was him in script.
Oh, something just came up in mind. Kaito was also very confrontive with Rantaro in the very beginning as well, along with him. So that means if Kaito was always meant to be fighting against the protagonist's rival,
he was always meant to be the ally.
He would have always... Yeah, he was always meant to be the ally character, which means if this theory is correct, he was going to have an altercation with Rantaro as well.
Yep. And this is going to fit towards Kokichi, too, because Kokichi is very important in this theory as well, because right now we're talking about Kaede being the actual rival, and the actual protag, and Rantaro being the actual rival. So, if Shuichi was our replacement on-hand protag, who do you think was our replacement on-hand rival?
Yeah, it was Kokichi.
Exactly.
And ironically, these two guys were so off the script at this point in time, they actually caused a lot of fucking trouble throughout the entire game.
This is what the term off script truly means, is because, like we were just talking about Kaito, he was always designed to be an ally character, if that makes sense. He was, it doesn't matter who the protag was. The protag he was going to pick up because the first trial was going to turn the tide against them, and Kaito was going to be the one to pick them back up, dust them off, and tell them to get back in there. It didn't matter if it was going to be Kaede or Shuichi, because that's what he would do. Yeah. That's Kaito. That is who he was. And
that's how he was written.
Exactly. Because he wasn't meant to die until later in the game, because he was an ally character.
Yeah.
If anything, if this theory is holds some credence, there's a good chance he wasn't supposed to die at all. Just like Kyoko in Trigger Happy Havoc.
Because he didn't start getting the illness till after chapter 2.
And who had a direct involvement with him getting killed?
It was Tsumugi with the flashback lights.
Kokichi, I mean. Kaito was the black end of Case 5 because he killed Kokichi.
Yeah.
So, and then retrospectively, with Rantaro, he died early because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And because Kaede got framed for his murder, he was also dead. So, you need a new protag. Now you need a new rival for that protag. You there, tiny, small, grape soda gay boy, you will do. Come be a rival. And Kokichi was like, oh boy, I'll try my best. That's a lie.
That's a definite lie. Because then he immediately... And since the two characters that were not supposed to meant to live past chapter 1, Kokichi
Exactly.
and Soichi, are alive.
So this is where off script really starts to mean something.
Yeah, because that's when they started causing the most havoc and the most trouble. Because the way they're written, they were not supposed to live past chapter 1. They're supposed to be these super smart characters that people could depend on, but they were going to die right off the bat and leave it to the rest of these characters
to figure out
who are going to have to everything else. These characters were not meant to live past chapter 1. But since they did, they were able to piece things together very, very quickly. And this is where it comes to the full head, where it suddenly makes sense with Kokichi's all of his stuff he's doing. He's really omnipresent throughout the entire game. Not just because he's a rival, but he's like an off-script, on-the-fly, on-the-go
He wasn't meant
rival.
to be a rival. He was a castmate, like Tojo or Ryoma or Miyu. Like, that's who he was. That's what he was meant to be. And like we said with Kaito, and people like Kaito, is that they were scripted to know certain things and do certain things, right? And Kaito, like we said, most likely was going to live till the end of the game because he was that close driving ally character. So when you have two characters who are very smart that were supposed to die right away, they aren't scripted to know certain things and only like find certain things or do certain things. These are two characters who have no script past that point. You have no way to control them. They have literal free will in your fictional story. They can do whatever they want. And because they don't have any like limits to what they can learn or find out, they are piecing all of these things together that you can't stop them from knowing because they weren't supposed to be alive. You didn't account for the fact that they weren't supposed to be here.
Unless you want to take another gamble and directly kill one of them again and blame it on the other.
But you already took a risk killing Rantaro and blaming it on Kaede. That was a big risk for Samugi. Like a big one. She could have gotten caught. She was close to getting caught because right when Shuichi and Kaede get in there, the door is slamming shut and she only had, what, like 30 seconds to do all of that before she could get back in? Yeah. That was a huge risk for her.
She had to kill Rantaro, take the survivor perk pad, and close the door before anyone else could get there.
And this is why Kokichi, like this is another thing too, is because like you think about it in past Danganronpa games, what always happens after every murder case? Cleanup. There's never any evidence left over. Monokuma takes everything. What did Kokichi stockpile throughout the entire game?
All the fucking evidence.
Yes, from past cases. Kokichi was always a step ahead. Rantaro and Kaede were meant to be the protag and the rival. They had a lot just handed to them, right? They had everything they needed for their roles right there. Shuichi and Kokichi both had to work. Kokichi had to steal that evidence from each case. He had to piece every little thing together. He had to come up with all these fucking plans and schemes to get as far as he did. Kokichi had to literally play the game because he did not have this plot armor coasting him through everything. Shuichi was the ultimate detective, and fictional or not, he is a damn good fucking detective because he figured all this shit out. The only reason he stayed alive was because he was smart enough to solve all these cases. If anything, you would argue that these characters would be smart enough to take out the fucking ultimate detective when you're trying to get away with murder. But no, because they're not scripted to kill Shuichi because he wasn't supposed to fucking be alive at this point.
Yeah. He became the surrogate protag at that point in time because of Kaito. And because since Kaito has always been latched onto the protag, he's protected by Kaito and by proxy, Maki.
And because of Rantaro's position as rival, Kaito was always meant to have a fucking bad side for the rival. And because Kokichi was the rival, that also meant that Maki was always going to have a bad touch with the rival. Kokichi got put in an awful spot, and he fucking played the game without plot armor that Rantaro should have had, that Kaede should have had. Shuichi and Kokichi went through this shit without plot armor because they were not meant to be alive this long. They were the literal Sayaka and fucking Leon of V3, and they made it to the fucking end because fucking off-script decisions. Two off-script decisions from two separate characters resulted in both of those important characters dying immediately, and Tsumugi having to deal with two characters that she could not fucking control.
And if you want to be clear, this is also I want to put in for like a theory. Tsumugi is a genuine character, but she's also the surrogate for the mastermind.
Yeah. We also have this idea that Tsumugi was just as much a castmate as everyone else. She's just like a kind of like how Kibo's a stand-in for the outside world and the audience. Tsumugi's a stand-in for Team Danganronpa, for the true masterminds to jump in and take control of a situation that's spiraling, like an off-script protag and rival, for example.
Yeah, she clearly has like an override to her character. And then she starts doing things, because then her eyes start glowing blue, and her like override instincts just come in, and she starts doing all this shit.
Her inhuman speed at switching between cosplay.
Yeah, and you sit there, and also another credence to this theory. Even when Tsumugi is revealed to be the mastermind, Monokuma is still there. So that means someone's still controlling Monokuma, but Tsumugi's right there.
Yep.
How like
I think this is the only Danganronpa game where Monokuma stuck around after the mastermind was revealed, because it was always someone being Monokuma from behind. Junko was controlling him from the mastermind lab in Trigger Happy Havoc. Alter Ego Junko was disguising her fucking avatar as Monokuma in Danganronpa 2. But yeah, in this one, that's another standout detail. Just like the protag trying to kill someone at the beginning, is that Monokuma stuck around after Tsumugi got pointed out.
Yeah.
So
another good thing is just because and if you look about that, then you go through the entire game and you make it to the ending. Kaede would not have naturally made that choice to not choose.
That's another big thing too.
She would have chosen Hope.
Kaede would have fought for Hope.
She would have fought for Hope. And because she would have fought for Hope, the Mastermind's like ultimate plan for having the killing games continue,
they still would have won.
They would have won, yeah.
She, being the protag and being who she was, she, just like everyone else, was scripted and limited by certain things. She, in a sense, did not have free will, and that's what made Shuichi and Kokichi dangerous, is because they did. They didn't have a scripted set of, like, unconscious rules that they were limited by, like everyone else did. Ryoma was always probably scripted to get killed by Tojo because she had the biggest reason to live and he had absolutely no reason to live. It was probably always going to end with those two killing each other, whether it happened the way it did or some other way. Korakiya was probably always scripted to be a secret serial killer that wanted to fuck his sister for some god-fucking reason.
Yeah, and he wanted to kill girls, so he kills two of the biggest girls in well, yeah.
Angie was the religious fanatic, so she was probably always scripted to form the fucking school council.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. School council.
There's a lot of things that stayed on script, but Shuichi and Kokichi, right off the bat, were off script. They were not meant to live past the first chapter, and because they did, it caused a lot of problems in the long run for Tsumugi, because you have a detective who is very good at what he's doing, solving all these murders, and sure, that's fine and good, but it's not until the very end where she realizes, like, okay, that he was a problem too. Kokichi was the biggest problem to her at the time, because Kokichi at every turn was trying to thwart and fucking screw over the entire killing game and take them off the air, even if he didn't understand exactly what was going on. Shuichi was just participating. He had no idea at the time, but Kokichi did. Because Kokichi was privy to all this knowledge and noticing all these details that he wasn't supposed to notice.
Yeah. Well, like take for example, before, like, after Case 1, what do we know about Shuichi?
Exactly.
He was a detective, and he's kind of down on himself.
It's just like Kaede. You learn a lot about him in that short time.
Yeah.
It's that moment where you realize that it could have gone either way.
Yeah. And then another thing it keeps keeps coming in my plan. Hold up, watch out. Another point to this theory that I like to point out, since you have these two off-script characters, Case 4 especially puts Mugi at very high risk. Because, sure, you can say that in a scripted sense, they were meant to go into the Neo World program, where Samugi would have little to no control. But the actual mastermind controlling Monokuma wanted to keep things interesting, and threw Samugi underneath the bus.
Yeah.
Samugi at this point in time, she was the
Samugi is the mastermind and was this whole time, and she wasn't just a character that was being brainwashed and controlled by the real mastermind. This moment was risky because Monokuma literally just threw her to the wolves.
Yeah, and she was very, very adamant of not going into the Neo World program in Chapter 4. She was like, I am not stepping foot into that situation if it would kill me. Yep. And if this is where I will point out, if Kokichi got that flashback light and they would have gotten in there, he probably would have had enough information to be like, I think the mastermind is you, and points to Samugi. He probably
could have figured it out if that plan succeeded.
Yeah. And I think he was literally hot on her heels at that moment of time. Just thank fucking God for Samugi.
Case 4 onward, like the very beginning of Chapter 4 onward, Kokichi was just a constant, huge thorn in the mastermind's side. He was causing so many problems. He was doing so much behind the scenes. And again, to reiterate, all of it without plot armor. This was a character that was literally not protected by anything. He could have just been fucking straight up murdered by anyone. And he fucking worked hard. He played smart. He played the game to end the game.
Yeah.
He knew how to do it. And because he made himself the more clear threat, he
gave way to Shuichi to actually end the game.
Shuichi, because again, Kaede most likely would have fought for Hope, because that's Danganronpa, and that's what they want. And that's what the protag is scripted to do, is fight for hope in the face of despair. And
this is why this also points to the fact that why Kibo got revealed like, oh, you're the audience surrogate, and the outside world wants to vote for hope. Because let's be real here, if they really wanted to, like, if Kaede was alive in this situation, if they were doing this off the script stuff, they would have not revealed as much as they did.
No, there was a lot, like the Nanokumas with the little cameras. Guess who was responsible for finding those? Kokichi. Gonta caught us a glimpse of one, but Kokichi's the one who caught them.
Oh yeah, because he asked
Miyu to invent the thing that sucked them up, and then he sucked them up and showed them to Gonta. And Gonta confirmed for him that they were there. At least I'm sure it was Gonta. I know there was a way he confirmed that they were there, but Kokichi was the one who found and caught the Nanokumas.
Right, and so basically to cheer up Gonta, which was a really nice thing for Kokichi to do for Gonta.
Yep. Yeah. Kokichi did a lot. He did a lot.
Yeah.
He caused so many problems. He shook so much of the fucking water at the base of Samugi's foundation. And it was all really because of Kokichi and like all the hints and things that he gave and all the problems he caused and all the reactions that the mastermind and the game itself did to try and stop him. All of that is what culminated in Shuichi realizing that Samugi wanted them to vote for Hope at the end. If not for Kokichi's constant attempts to thwart this fucking game, Shuichi probably wouldn't have noticed Hope is what they want. If this is a show, because even Shuichi in that moment was recollecting on everything that Kokichi had been saying. He was flashing back to things Kokichi said about it being a game and there being an audience. And it all clicks in that moment where he's like, no, she wants us to vote for Hope because that's what the audience really wants. And that's why we can't do it.
And if Rantaro was the rival in this situation, he would have probably wanted to stop the killing game, but he probably would have failed at the first attempt, and he would have been like, well, I'm just going to win the killing game in this sense, if it's what it's going to say. He would have just been full-blown Togami at that point. He would just been like, I'm going to win the game. I can't trust none of you fools, because Kaede almost got... Kaede, the one where we trusted so much, would have gotten... could have was going to kill someone, so I'm not going to trust any of you fools. I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to win the game. And you guys can't
and
stop
another
me.
big piece of
Whether it
evidence
becomes-
being that Rantaro's room, again, is one of the last rooms that you find as far as Ultimate Labs go, meaning that he should have been alive a lot longer than he was.
Oh, and before you guys ask, Suichi's room in chapter 3 would have been locked. There's no fucking way they would have locked that shit.
There was
No,
poison in there. They would have left it unlocked. Monokuma probably... The only reason Monokuma had the locked room, if you die before your lab is found, the only reason that rule was in place was because Rantaro died early, and he wasn't supposed to. They were like, we're locking all the labs, because if they get into Rantaro's lab when they find it, they're going to find his laptop, and they're going to figure a lot more shit out than they need to. Especially... Like, and we don't need that, especially when we have this fucking purple soda gremlin and this fucking detective who we literally cannot stop.
Yeah.
Because it's either take the risk,
It's
either take the risk and try and kill them yourselves like Tsumugi already did to Rantaro, or you wait for someone else to kill them, which Miyu did try and kill Kokichi, and they were probably...
But he ultimately...
Yeah, he got away from it. He wriggled free again.
Yeah. And then this calls for desperate times, calls for desperate measures, because now he has your weapons of mass destruction.
Now he's hijacked your entire fucking game from you, and now what are you going to do? He sets up a murder that none of you can solve.
No. He has the exosols. So you're in a situation as Tsumugi. He has your weapons. He's on your tails. What's he going to do when he catches you? He immediately, Tsumugi's response is, turn everyone else against him right the fuck away. Make up some bullshit. This is literally what Tsumugi did. Was make up some bullshit at them being in Hope's Peak Academy, make them remember Juku and Ashima and the Remnants of Despair so they could figure things out saying, oh, Kokichi's a Remnant of Despair. Let's go attack him. And that's another point to the off-script moment. That wasn't supposed to happen.
They weren't supposed to know all that. Tsumugi put that evidence in there to put the Remnants of Despair target on Kokichi's back, to put more drive, put more motivation on people trying to kill him.
And Dylan fucking hated that during all of Chapter 5.
Every time they called him a Remnant of Despair, I screamed inside. I was so mad. I was like, why are you calling him that? He's not that. God.
Yeah. It's kind of blatantly obvious he's not a Remnant.
Because again,
at
this point, Kokichi was a constant, public problem to the mastermind. Shuichi was just playing the game and participating like they would have hoped he would. Because they were like, well, shit, we've got 2 off-script characters now that we don't know what to do with because they weren't supposed to be alive. Kokichi's the one over here causing constant fucking problems, but Shuichi's just solving the murders and chugging along in his participation, and they're like, okay, at least one of them is not being a fucking pain in my ass. And that's why all the attention went on to trying to get Kokichi gone. And it culminates because then you've got Shuichi at the very end who ended up being the biggest problem. Because Shuichi ended Danganronpa. Fuck, man. This is some super, next level meta shit, and that's why I love it. Is because all of this craziness of Kokichi and Shuichi supposing to be dead by Chapter 1 and not be alive this long, this is all entirely fucking possible. This very well could be close to, if not the truth, of why V3 is so fucking wild. Is because you have characters that don't follow their script, and it put everything into a fucking mess. Things probably got back on track for a while. At least case 2 and 3, I bet you were pretty much on script, but it's case 4 specifically where Kokichi really kicks it into drive, and that's when things start getting more and more balls to the wall.
He finally has he got enough evidence to start putting things together, and so with enough evidence, it starts calls to action. He starts doing all these actions and stuff like that. He's putting the mastermind Swish at risk.
He's putting pressure on them.
I believe he's putting pressure on them. Because I would sit there, I'm like, if Tsumugi would have died, the actual masterminds of the game, then I'm like, oh well, Tsumugi died. Yeah. I guess we could stop this right here, because then we don't have really any.
Because with Monokuma throwing her to the wolves in that moment, it shows that if she is a mastermind, but she's working under the masterminds, if she's working with Team Danganronpa, but she is not an actual, like, just innocent Tsumugi Shirogane character, like, if she is straight up a mastermind working with the true masterminds, then that just shows that she's expendable, and they don't really care about her. Because Monokuma literally just case 4, he just said, fine, sure, it really puts the mastermind at risk of you finding out who they are, like that, but I'm game. Like,
yeah. So there's obviously like a second party in play here.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is Team Danganronpa in general, and this confirms it, because as soon as like they figure it out and the meta reality thing starts breaking down and shit like that, Tsumugi gets hijacked almost immediately.
That's kind of their final play when they realize they've lost control of everything. That's like their final attempt to get things back in order. Is like, well, if we hit them with the real hard truth that none of this is fucking real, maybe we can put them in enough of a despair that Kibo or someone will try and fight for hope, and then we can still score another season out of this, and we can wipe the slate clean.
You know what I just thought of? Maybe the season thing's bullshit. Maybe it's just a Team Danganronpa. They were just having control, like a control sensor, just putting into Kibo, telling him to vote for hope, vote for hope, vote for hope, vote for hope, vote for hope. Go always think about hope.
Yeah, because like you said, the entire world of people, there's no way that one vote is going to be unanimous from an entire world of screaming voices. But if it was like a small group of masterminds, like Team Danganronpa, maybe, there's a good chance that it could have been unanimous, especially if they were whispering sweet nothings into poor little Keyboy's ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention, they probably just gave up. They were like...
Well, yeah, because by case 5, they were like, yeah, we don't have any control over this bullshit anymore. We gotta do something.
Yeah, and by, like, at the end of the thing, there was like, man, this fucking character's just yelling at us at this point in time. And we can't tell them to sit there, vote for hope, but we'll just fucking give up. And that's when they were both like, okay, Tsumugi, just don't vote. Kibo, don't vote. We're pulling the plug. We're going to try a different killing game somewhere.
Yeah, because, like, if you think about it, too, after Case 5 was when they lost control completely. Because Kokichi hijacked everything. And Shuichi figured it out.
And then Kibo lost his antenna.
And Kibo lost his antenna. And that was probably one moment of reprieve where they were like, okay, well, Kokichi's finally gone. We somewhat have this under control again. We need to think of our next move. They didn't get time to think of their next move, because like 10 minutes later, Kibo was like, you know, I feel like blowing up buildings today. I don't know why. I just, it just sounds kind of fun. And then he just shot a fucking blast into the wall of the school.
He wanted to end the killing game. He wanted to end the killing game by destroying the entire fucking school.
They didn't get time to think of anything, because Kibo was just like, you know what, fuck this place. Actually, fuck this place. And they were like, well, shit, now we gotta deal with this.
So that gave Shuichi an opening, just enough opening to find the evidence he needs, because they were literally like, the book was in Kokichi's lab, obviously. That literally has not, that book, honestly, if Kokichi wasn't a thing, that book literally means nothing.
In fact, that book was probably there, because wasn't Kokichi the one who mentioned, like, the remnants of despair and shit? Was it brought up through a flashback? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have just been like a book right there. They would have been like, oh, look, a book about Hope's Peak Academy. Then it
wouldn't have been a big plot element. If anything, it probably wouldn't have even been there at all.
Right.
So.
Right. Or they would have not noticed that. They would look at the book and like, well, this is useless to us. We don't need this right now. Because literally the book was only there just
It was there to throw them off.
The book only...
They were trying to throw Shuichi off.
Yeah.
Because he was the one solving all the cases. Like, even the characters in the game, when you're solving the murder mysteries, literally Kaito and everyone else tell Shuichi, it's up to you. You're the only one who can figure this out. Because even they realize that Shuichi is just damn fucking good at doing this. And it's because, one, he's an ultimate detective. Whether you want to argue that that's fictional and he's not that good at it or not, I say to you, sir, fuck off. He's a fucking great detective, because he figured out all of this bullshit. And not just because he was off script and he was privy to information that the others couldn't really learn, but just in the sense that he pieced it all together regardless. He noticed the discrepancies in the book, The History of Hope's Peak Academy. He called out those discrepancies. He fucking pieced all this together. He figured out Tsumugi was the mastermind. He solved all the murder mysteries. He figured out Kaede was guilty, even though she wasn't. But whether you want to argue he's fictional or not, Shuichi is probably I would argue, a better detective than Kyoko. Because Shuichi did something that Kyoko could not. He ended Danganronpa. He ended the killing games.
Yeah.
And if there isn't another Danganronpa, then it just continues to put strength in Shuichi. He did something that not even Makoto, the ultimate hope, could do. He ended the killing games once and for all. Nail in the coffin. Gone.
Right. And if there's a killing game that takes place after this, you bet your ass Shuichi's probably going to be one of those people trying to stop
He's going to have to be relevant in some way if they keep V3 canon. If not, then he just... if they don't keep V3 canon, then it's fine, because it still just puts Shuichi and Kokichi and the rest of the V3 cast in the story. It just puts it up on this, like, its own little pedestal. Because it's so, like...
Right.
It's so smart. It's so clever. And it's so meta. It's wild. It's like the weird cousin that no one talks about in the family, but they all know that they're still chill to hang out with. Like, that's a V3, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I already thought Shuichi was a strong protag. Like, I already thought he was the best protag, but this theory, this off-script theory about him and Kokichi, if it is true, and I think it holds a lot of credence, it just makes him even better. Just makes him even stronger, because he went through all of this. He went through he played the protag role without the protag plot armor that Kaede was supposed to have.
Yeah.
Like...
And then and if you think about it, stuff like that, it also leads more credence to what Tsumugi said at the end. Because if someone else like Team Danganronpa was supposed to be like controlling, like, do like some like hijacked mind control over Tsumugi and Kibo, just to keep the hope and despair dynamic alive. She said something about being a copycat killer. And if they were just like a group of serial killers that wanted to do a killing game, they kind of are copycat killers. They just wanted to have a perfect script. But then they didn't count for variables from happening. They took a character from my Rantaro theory, because these go hand in hand. If my Rantaro theory is correct, they took a character from the previous killing game who had a strong will and trauma, who wanted to end the killing game. They used them as one of the fucking rivals in this shit.
And they didn't expect, because they wiped him with the blackout lights, and so they figured, he's going to be what we want him to be now. But something in Rantaro just couldn't be wiped clean, and he made an off-script decision that they didn't account for, and it set all these events into motion that led to Shuichi fucking nailing it once and for all. This crazy chain of events between Rantaro and Kaede's single choices between the two of them, to Kokichi fucking trying to rip this script up and throw it into the wind, all the way down to Shuichi piecing everything together based on everything he's seen and being able to make the decision that not only ends Danganronpa, but just fucking ends everything. It ends the chain of events. It ends the fucking masterminds behind Danganronpa. It ends Monokuma. Because Monokuma and Tsumugi both get crushed at the end. It ends everything. And if it really was a lie, if there really is a world out there that they can go to, maybe they're not who they were before the killing game, but they are real people now who have gone through this experience together, and they're going to continue living a life now.
Yeah, and if these theories hold correct, and they were just there just to throw everyone off, they would probably be immediately rescued by the Future Foundation, by Makoto, Kyoko, and the like. And they would be immediately being helped out, because these guys, at the end of the day, these guys are still kids. Yeah. They're still teenagers. They would probably be helped out by Makoto and them. They would probably help. They would probably be like, hey, you ran into Rantaro in that killing game, right? And they're like, yeah, well, he was in the previous killing game, and he was sent there to actually save you guys.
Yep. And we're running on almost 3 hours here, so we're going to have to wrap it up.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
the final detail that I kind of want to put, just like a nice little cherry on top of this off-script theory, is that Kaede truly was the protagonist of this story. Because if she had not made that choice to attempt and kill the mastermind right away, it never would have led to Danganronpa ending once and for all. She truly did save some lives here. Even if it cost her her own. So.
Yeah, that just adds a lot of credence to it.
There's a lot of evidence to suggest that this is what happened. And you, just like the rest of Danganronpa V3, you don't have to believe it. Because it's all meta. And the whole theme of the game is truth and lies. Is this true or is it a lie? Yeah. And this is why I said it's nice that they left it up for the fans to decide. Because if they would have just outright confirmed it at the end, you can't make these kind of theories because you know. It ruins all thought behind it. It takes all the mystery away.
You're not part of this, but this is exactly what Mass Effect 3 is basically going through. Mass Effect 3 has the big indoctrination theory, and it's the reason why Mass Effect 3 is still talked about to this very day, is because people still theorycraft about that shit. What actually was real? And since BioWare never confirmed or deny it, well, like, canonically, they said Mass Effect Andromeda, and they're like, nah, that doesn't count. But, since they never confirmed or deny it, it still holds weight. It's still really is a popular theory, and this is what that's not really meta. That was bad writing done with fucking fans trying to do meta writing. But this is really good meta writing, and you could sit there. There's a bunch of fucking endings you could have just drawn from this. Was it all a lie? Was it all true? Was some of it a lie? Was some of it true?
It's up for you to decide.
It's all to decide.
That's the glory of meta writing, and that's why it's fun. Is because you can come up with a theory like this to explain why characters should be dead, and they're not.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and the reason why they become very, very fucking potent and powerful.
There's a reason Shuichi is the best protagonist in this series. There's a reason he's got all this character development, is because he wasn't supposed to be alive. He learned everything that Kaede was supposed to just kind of cast through as the protag. Because remember, Shuichi did not have plot armor, like Kaede probably did.
Like, literally Shuichi's backstory is like, well, I got lucky and solved one case.
He solved one case and got labeled an ultimate detective. And it scored him a ticket to Hope's Peak. That's literally his backstory. He does not have the backstory to support being an ultimate detective, and yet he outshines Kyoko in detectiving in this fucking game. And Kokichi!
Literally does not have a backstory.
Shuichi fucking carries the murder investigations on his back. Every case. And it's not just because he's a protagonist. Like, Makoto wasn't even a detective. Makoto still fucking figured out all the cases in the first game and put together all the closing arguments. You could argue Hajime. You could argue Hajime because he's the ultimate, but Hajime Hinata is not even an ultimate student.
He's just a regular
Shuichi
dude.
is a fucking... He's just a fucking dude. He's just a fucking dude with no plot armor who's trying to be the protagonist, and he's fucking doing it.
Yeah, and then, like, again, another thing that reads curious, what's Kokichi's backstory? Do you know? No, because the writers did not intend for him to live this long, so they didn't want him to have a backstory. He was either supposed to be a blackened or if our theory is either a blackened or a victim. You're not supposed to know too much about Kokichi.
Him and Shuichi, you learn a bit about, but you don't know that much. And yeah, like Kokichi, arguably, you probably could have never found his lab.
Yeah.
So.
But then if you go to every other character, mountains. Mountains of dialogue. Mountains of different...
There's a lot to Kaede, and you don't get a whole lot on Rantaro, but again, his room is one of the last ones you find. So it's arguable that you fucking find out more about him later. I mean, they kind of did the same thing with Kyoko in Trigger Happy Havoc, where you don't really know anything about her. It's obvious that she's a fucking detective. Even though she's like, oh, I don't know what my talent is. It's like, yeah, okay, you're a fucking detective, girl, shut up. Like, but like, you know, it's easy to see that Rantaro was not meant to die. Yeah. And that Kokichi and Shuichi were most likely going to get killed off pretty early. And the fact that they stuck around for as long as they did just lends credence to this whole theory Because there's so much evidence
Yeah.
pointing at the fact that they should have been dead and they weren't.
Yeah.
So.
Because they're literally blank slates. Yeah. They were, like, at the start, blank slates. Why does everyone else besides these two specific characters have a lot more personality for them going? Because Kokichi in chapter 1, very inactive.
Very inactive. He doesn't really become active until like around the end of case 3, beginning of case 4.
Yeah. Well, even chapter 2, he was somewhat active. That's because he was getting flashback lights, and because of the way his character was written up for chapter 1 to be somewhat of like either a threat or somewhat of a threat. That somewhat of a threat over time became a really big fucking problem. And Shuichi, being somewhat smart in the very beginning, over time became the final nail in the coffin for this entire killing game.
God, meta writing is cool. Well, with that, we're going to have to go. We've been talking for a little too long. This is going to be a long-ass episode. I might have to put timestamps in the fucking description for each point we talked. People are going to be like, oh wow, the Rantaro theory that they talked about at the very beginning happens like 2 hours in. Fun.
Thank you for joining us with this special episode of Ripley, believe it or not.
Follow Major Ego and all the shit. We have a Twitter that I'm in charge of running that I forget exists, so there's not always updates on there, but I try.
I don't use Twitter, so don't count on me for anything.
His Twitter is in the description if you want to follow him anyway.
If you want to see me upload Warframe pictures from my fucking Switch, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, follow Major Ego and all the shit. We have a Discord server. If you want to hop in, we have constant updates on there. We're really active on Discord. That's mainly what we use. So.
Yeah. If you just hop into Discord, if you like ping us, we'll chat with you.
Yeah, we got a small community, so we're fucking not too busy to talk to people like fucking PewDiePie. Kidding, I love Pewds. PewDiePie woman, back in my DMs. I'm sad. Felix, I sent you like 19 direct messages on Twitter. Why won't you respond? All right, well.
We're going to go get blackout drunk again.
Until next time, I'm D-DAWG, and that's the J-Man. Have a good fucking night, people.
Get the fuck off.